What's going on, everybody? Can you all hear me okay? Drop me a W in the chat or a number or something. Let me know you guys can hear me all okay. Let's see what everyone's doing. Shout out to everyone that's tuned in tonight. Obviously we've got a few things to discuss. We've got hopefully we've got a special guest joining us as well. So yeah. Would you like me to speak? No one has to pay for anything here. I'm not sure if you're new around here, Kat, but we don't ask for money or anything. We just stream in to go over the recent news. Obviously we have a special guest coming on tonight as well, so we're just gonna have a little chat, discuss obviously what's been going on in Syria. But yeah, let me know where you guys are watching the stream from tonight. Have we got any of my UK brothers in here? Any Americans, any Syrians, Ukrainians, Russians, Palestinians, Lebanese, wherever you're from? Let me know where you guys are from. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust this camera a little bit. That's a bit better. That's a bit better. So yeah, let me know where you guys are watching the stream from, everyone. We've got anyone? We've got Cleopatra on YouTube. Shout out to you. We've got WAW. Yeah, thank you, bro. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Syria's a good friend, man. Of course they are. Obviously, we wish the best for the Syrian people. I don't know if that's going to happen though. We've obviously seen the Israeli escalations already today. So obviously I pray for the safety of all the Syrians, you know. But we're going to dive into it all anyway. We're going to discuss all the recent news. We've got Tina from America. Shout out to you, Tina. What time is it over there? I know it's midnight already in the UK. I'm doing a late one tonight because the special guest that's coming on, he's on a different time zone. So we had to try and do it a bit later tonight so we can, you know, make everyone happy. But any guesses who the special guest is? Has anyone got any guesses? We got Midwest US. Shout out to you, bro, Billy Ray. We got from a Zionist country, France. You know, I'm from the UK. You know, it's a Zionist country as well. At least the people are not Zionist, you know. But Cleopatra, we don't ask for any cash. You know, you can, of course, you can donate if you want to, but you know that's not the goal here. The goal is to just sort of spread what's going on and spread awareness. But I really do appreciate that a lot. But yeah, go on. Any guesses? Anyone in the chat want to guess who's coming on tonight? You can guess away. Hopefully they turn up. You know, hopefully it's not too much of an annoying time for them. I know that I've been trying to get them on for a while. It's just a bit hard with the time zones. I'm in the UK and they're in another country. That's a bit of a crazy time zone for us to catch up on. But yeah, you can far away. Let me know your guesses. It's great to see you all here anyway. I mean, I'd love to know what you guys' thoughts are on Syria before we get into this. What do you guys think that this is a positive? Do you think that this is, going to benefit the Syrians in any way? Personally, I don't. I mean, I know a lot of you guys don't like Assad, but this is not the way, folks. This is not the way. But I'll let you guys guess away anyway. Let me know your thoughts. I mean, sorry. Can you give me a link for what? What's Oh, sorry, I didn't see the first message. You have a lot of Saudi Arabians. I talked to the group. I don't know. Please elaborate a little bit more. I'm a bit tired, maybe, or maybe it went over my head a bit. But let me know. No, it's not President Trump. You know, I'm not that experienced yet to have big people on like that. But this person is a very big journalist. Very been in this game for years, and it's really an honour for me to have them on. So hopefully they can make it tonight. But yeah. I am behind the account. Yeah, I do streams every couple of days or so. I try my best, but I'm not sure if it's your first time here. Just gonna check my DMs to make sure they haven't messaged me yet. Yeah, I'll keep having to check them. Thank you, Cleo. I really do appreciate that. I really appreciate that a lot. But we'll get into it anyway. We'll get into the news of today. So I'm sure. Wait, I'm not really in the center, am I? That's better. So I'm sure a lot of you have been, paying attention over the last, I think it's been going on for about 2 weeks now, of what's been, sort of happening around Syria. I think it's about 11 or 12 days. But especially over the last couple of days, we've seen a lot going on. It looked like it was all under control from like Assad's, perspective. Like we thought maybe that we didn't think it was going to be this much of an escalation. We've seen this happen a few years ago, obviously, but obviously the ISIS terrorists and all that, they got cleared out. But this time it looks like they have succeeded. It looks like Assad has actually... I feel like he just sort of gave up in the end, He didn't really want to hold on to this presidency anymore. Yeah, we're going to dive into it, though. We're going to go through the news, because some of you guys might not have seen everything. We're going to take it back like 3 days, and we're going to, build up and go through everything. But what do I think will happen next in Syria? I mean, I hope that we see something positive for the people there. I mean, there's loads of innocent civilians, of course, that loads of them were just looking for a better life, Maybe they didn't agree with Assad and they thought that this was the answer, but we've been trying to warn you guys that this is not the answer. No matter what you think of Assad, for example, I don't like Keir Starmer in my country, but I'm not going to team up with like ISIS and Al-Qaeda terrorists to try and remove him. I don't think that's the best option at all. I mean, I say stick to what you know. Everyone knew Assad, everyone knew he'd been there for years and years. I mean, he might not be the best president, but he's definitely better than what's going on, in my opinion. Of course, we've got Israel advancing now more and more into Syria, destroying everything, so we're going to get into that. So, sorry, let me just read the chat. What's that, as a Facebook link? I don't have Facebook, unfortunately. I will check it out, though. What is it, like a group or something? I'll have a look at that. But yeah, Marga Jack, I'm completely agreeing with you. It's going to be worse for Syria. I mean, yeah, we've seen what these guys are capable of, ISIS and Al-Qaeda forces, obviously these are not good people. These are the type of people that the West will use to weaponize and make it out like all Muslims are terrorists. So I don't know why certain Muslims are sticking with these people, but we tried warning them. We've been doing a lot of streams covering this. We've been tweeting a lot. I mean, we tried our best. We tried to wake everyone up, but I suppose a lot of people, unfortunately, are going to have to see the hard way of what these people are actually about, But will Israel betray Al-Qaeda? I think personally that this is now a lot easier for Israel to create the greater Israel project that they've been hoping for so long. I feel like this is now the easy way through. As we saw earlier, there was like Israeli warplanes bombing Syria heavily all day. They destroyed all of the rest of the armies, like all of their like helicopters and military bases and things like that. So there's no like defense there anymore for Syria. There's not even a real government in place. There's an ISIS leader, an Al-Qaeda leader that's now running the country. It's not looking good, guys. It's really not looking good. You think they will betray the Al-Qaeda? And yeah, of course they will, man. Of course they will. It's Israel. This is just like an easy way for them to take over, and get what they wanted, which is the Great Israel Project. But yeah, anyway, we're going to get into the news. We're going to go over a few bits and bobs. We're going to, keep checking in on the chat. We'll see what you guys think of it all. Hopefully our special guest will be joining us shortly. So, yeah, man, let's get into it. And I haven't had any guesses yet of who the guest's going to be. I mean, I had President Trump was the only guest I think we've received. Unfortunately, it's not going to be President Trump. I would have a lot of questions to ask him, if it was. But he'd never come on a stream like this. Come on. But, yeah. You think Russia bases and fights with the Russian army will continue happening? I don't know. I was asking the same question to someone earlier that do I think, I was asking them, do you think that Russia will do anything? And they were sort of telling me no. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to see the return of Assad, and Russia was sort of protecting Syria because of the ties with Assad, but it seems like they got told, just leave it, because after the last couple of days we haven't really seen any Russian strikes, nothing from Iran or anything like that either. But no, it's not Elon Musk. It's not Elon Musk. Of course, Elon, I would love to have a few questions for him too. But yeah, Israel is working with me. It's hard to be kind after media and all these things of proud. You promised you'd stand for Syria. I mean, yeah, we all stand with Syria. We didn't want Assad there to upset Syrian people. We're just saying that, of course, we just want a better life for Syria, and I don't think this is the way forward. I mean, we've seen over the last 24 hours what's been going on. I don't think Russia will run away either, but I think that Russia has probably been told, listen, leave it for a while, we're going to see what happens. So anyway, let's get into some news. So An important thing I wanted to use to kick off this stream was Hillary Clinton back in 2011. She actually said, we created Al-Qaeda. We've actually heard President Trump say this in the past as well, that the Americans created Al-Qaeda and ISIS. So anything usually to do with America is nothing, like that's not going to benefit anybody, especially in the Middle East. America's got no business being there. We've seen how they fund genocides in Palestine. We've seen how they fund proxy wars in Ukraine. We've seen how they fund, genocides in Lebanon. Countless things, Iraq, Afghanistan, all in the past, all of that stuff as well. It's never been a good result when the US has got involved in anything. So let's watch the video of Hillary Clinton back in 2011.
We also have a history of kind of moving in and out of Pakistan. I mean, let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago. And we did it because we were locked in this struggle with the Soviet Union. They invaded Afghanistan, and we did not want to see them control Central Asia. And we went to work. And it was President Reagan in partnership with the Congress, led by Democrats, who said, you know what, sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's deal with the ISI and the Pakistani military, and let's go recruit these mujahideen. And let's get some to come from Saudi Arabia and other places, importing their Wahhabi brand of Islam so that we can go beat the Soviet Union. And guess what? They retreated. They lost billions of dollars, and it led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So there's a very strong argument, which is, wasn't a bad investment to end the Soviet Union, but let's be careful what we sow because we will harvest. So we then left Pakistan. We said, okay, fine, you deal with the stingers that we've left all over your country. You deal with the mines that are along the border. And by the way, we don't want to have anything to do with you. In fact, we're sanctioning you. So we stopped dealing with the Pakistani military and with ISI, and we now are making up for a lot of lost time.
So yeah, there's words of one of the biggest devils of all time, probably one of the evilest women to ever walk the planet, Hillary Clinton. She's literally telling you that they created Al-Qaeda back in whenever all the way back past 2011. But I've got a lot of messages in the chat. Sorry. Hillary called you. I don't know why Hillary's calling you. I pray for your safety if you've got connection with them type of people. You don't want to be speaking up if you're in that sort of circle. We've seen what happens. Countless, people have committed suicide apparently, and all that thing. So definitely be careful if you're involved with that type of thing. But sorry, I was just checking it on the guest. But yeah, so that's how we want to kick off the stream anyway. So December the 5th. We saw residents of Homs was being forced to evacuate towards Damascus due to the invasion of the Al-Qaeda terrorists. So it's not looking good, straight from the beginning. There's obviously a lot of people in Syria that don't agree with what's going on still, as their voices aren't really pushed on X for some reason. We don't really see a lot of it, but I've seen a lot of it in my comments and things like that, and obviously we've seen the videos of residents scared for their lives, fleeing the scenes. Here's one of them.
العالم عم تهرب من البلد ليك طريق الشام وطريق طرطوس كومبلي هون أنا على طريق الشام كومبلي.
So yeah, there was just some quick video there, but then we saw the Syrian Minister of Defense come out and make a statement of the situation ongoing. Bearing in mind this is like 3 days ago, guys, so this is this is like just as the reality started to kick in, how serious the situation was. But before we sort of knew, he came out and said, today we are fighting a fierce and ongoing battle with the most brutal terrorist organisations which are using a guerrilla approach, which forces our armed forces to use appropriate methods in fighting the battles, including advances and retreats and withdrawals to some points. These terrorist organisations are backed by Turkey and other actors in terms of logistics, weaponry and planning, which complicates the situation. We're in a good field situation, and our armed forces have worked to redeploy to preserve lives. Sorry for my English today. And military action in the context of the battle tactics sometimes requires redeployment. Syria, with its army, its people, its leadership, and the support of its allies and friends, is capable of overcoming the challenges, no matter how severe or difficult. We can confirm that what happened in the city of Hama today is a temporary tactical measure, and our forces are still in the vicinity of the city of Hama and are now fully prepared and ready to confront any assault. So it sounded like they was, the Syrian armed forces were very strong at the beginning. To be honest, I didn't really think it was gonna get, this crazy. Even last night I was thinking, fuck man, I can't believe it's all over, man. It's really, we are, whether we like it or not, we are living in history right now. This is going to be remembered for decades and hundreds of years after, but it's definitely a new leaf. If it's going to be a bad or good leaf, only the future will tell. I think it's personally going to be bad, but yeah, I think Syria will get destroyed as well. Unfortunately, Israel has already begun destroying Syria. You can check my X page. There's countless videos just from the last hour of Israel heavily bombing all different areas in Syria. Yeah, of course, justice for the prisoners. There's people that have been in there probably wrongfully accused and stuff, but I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen to these prisoners now. Unfortunately, we hope that it works out alright for them anyway. But yeah, this is kind of irrelevant, but then this is when things started to take a bad turn, in my opinion. So when I made this tweet, I was like, it's not looking good. So Russia was forced to blow up the Rustam bridge leading to Homs to stop Al Qaeda terrorists from advancing. So you can see Russia here, launching strikes. So yeah, that was obviously in an attempt to try and stop forces moving across the bridge. This was sort of when the desperate measures started coming out. You can see an image of the bridge. That's what it looked like before. It's a big bridge that leads all across these like big mountains and things like that. Yeah. Then obviously the Syrian army came out and said that they recaptured several important positions on the Hama axis. They said at the direction of Iranian advisors, they've reportedly recaptured the headquarters of the 87th Special Forces and the Hama military airport. But then the day after, Syria withdrew its request from the Arab League for an emergency meeting of Arab foreign ministers. So this is when it started to get a bit confusing, like what's going on, Syrian sources were not really being clear with us. There was a lot of confusion. There was obviously the terrorist telegrams and things like that was pushing out a lot of propaganda, so we didn't really know what to believe. But then Turkish President Erdogan came out, after pretty much trying to act like he wasn't involved in all of this. When he started to realise that the Assad government was falling, then he started becoming a lot more vocal about the situation. And he came out and said, Ankara hopes the march of the opposition in Syria will continue without any issues. Think of it what you will. Let's play the video.
The Turkish president basically reiterating some of the points he's been making in recent days about the fact that Bashar al-Assad has refused to sort of get into any kind of talks with Turkey or even to sort of try to reconcile with opposition groups or the people in general in Syria, and basically implying that Bashar al-Assad has brought all this on himself. Interesting that he's pointing out there's something that's probably not lost on many people, that this rebel operation led by Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham, already taken Aleppo, well established in Hama now, seems like it could be heading for Homs, and then after that there's only pretty much Damascus, the capital city, remains. So if they take well, they've already taken Aleppo, Hama, and then they take Homs as well. That's the second, third and fourth biggest cities in the country, just leaving the capital. Also interesting that he mentions potentially something going on with the Prime Minister of Lebanon. It's not exactly clear what he was talking about, but maybe the fact that Lebanon needs even more help because of all this extra increased fighting in Syria. Lebanon borders Syria, and there may be more people heading into that country to escape from the fighting, and it's maybe the fact that more aid is needed in that country. That seems to be what he's suggesting, but not exactly clear. Obviously Lebanon already in quite a desperate situation because it's there's been all this fighting for the last few months with Israel and Hezbollah there, so a very desperate, very difficult situation for Lebanon at the moment, it seems, and the Turkish government there sort of pledging to do what it can to help.
So yeah, obviously Erdogan become very vocal. He came out again, and this is the same interview, the same speech, sorry, not interview. But he said, "We've been following the events in the region. Turkey has in the past called on Assad to come to the table to discuss the region's future. We didn't receive a positive response, and now the opposition forces have taken a number of Syrian cities. Let's play the video.
We have been following the latest situations unfolding in the region via media and also via our intelligence units. What we hope and pray is that this march hopefully will go on in Syria. Well, as this resistance goes on in the region with the participation of the terrorist organizations, if you remember, we made a call to Mr. Assad, and we said that let's come together and let's discuss and let's shape the future of Syria altogether. And we couldn't receive a positive response from Mr. Assad to this call. But as you know, they have taken Idlib, Hama, and Humus is at the hands of the opposition forces, and they are heading forward to Damascus. So this march by the opposition forces in the region is not we desire, because the whole region is unfortunately in great instability.
So yeah, just what Erdogan wanted.
Turkish president basically reiterating.
Sorry, why are we playing that video? Yeah, just looks like Erdogan kind of got what he wanted. Where's he been, you know? Where's he been when all this genocide that's been going on? But yeah, then we started to see all these videos coming out. Hundreds of motorcycles attempted to take control of the Nasib border, crossing on the border, which is obviously the crossing on the border between Syria and Jordan. So you can see all like these gangs, they're like motorcyclists. Sorry, that's a bit loud. Just causing like absolute chaos on the border. And then shortly after that, Jordan officially announced the closure of the border with Syria. No surprise there from the King of Jordan. And then Jordan's foreign ministry come out and said, we call on our citizens to leave Syria as soon as possible. So the fear mongering started. Everyone started to worry. And then Egypt and Jordan came out and urged the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to form a government in exile. We didn't actually hear a response. It would be great, if Assad had an X page. We'd love to see, hear something from him, I guess. But yeah, the foreign ministers of Syria, Iraq and Iran in the joint statement came out and said, threatening Syria's security poses a general danger to the stability of the entire region, and there is no chance but to continue coordination and cooperation. So it was starting to think like, maybe Iran and Iraq and all of these countries can come together and maybe come with like a peaceful solution before this gets out of hand. I don't know. Obviously we saw the rebels in Syria condemning Hamas. Interesting. Thought these guys are so-called freedom fighters and all that, But
هل ما حدث في حلب يشبه ما حدث؟
it's in a different. I can't be asked to play the whole video, I don't understand the language, unfortunately. But basically, he came out. I will play a bit of it actually, in case you guys think I'm lying or something. So let's play it. He said, "I challenged anyone to provide any image proving that we attacked anyone. The instructions from the operation command were clear. No one is to be harmed. We were with the residents of Aleppo at all times. We reassured them and provided them safety. We granted safety to any regime soldiers who did not fire at the revolutionaries, stayed in their homes or surrendered. I believe this requires bringing in international channels. Correspondents and journalists." Maybe I should speed this up. Okay, "We are ready to facilitate their entry into the city through any border crossing. Our relationships are good with journalists from all over the world. Let them see with their own eyes how the people of Aleppo are living today. More than 60% of shops in Aleppo have resumed operating." It's on 1.25 speed and he's still talking so slow. "And business," and then of course, "and business today is very good. God willing, services will return gradually and rapidly. Blah blah blah. There's no aggression as I blah blah blah." Let's get to the bit where he condemns Hamas. Sorry, it's just a load of bullshit he's talking at the beginning. I might have skipped through it basically, but basically what he said is oh okay, sorry, it was right at the beginning of the video, I must have missed it. You want to hear the audio? Okay, I'll play the audio. I didn't know if any of you guys were like spoke the language, you know. I'll play it. So the beginning bit that we're gonna miss because it's so quick is, does the invasion of Aleppo resemble what happened on October 7th? And then he basically said he challenges to provide any image that that we attacked anyone. Yeah, exactly. They're Zionist rebels, you know. The so-called, you know, good guys that everyone's been trying to claim are like freedom fighters and all that, which are clearly just ISIS and Al-Qaeda terrorists, you know, funded by the US and NATO and all of these countries that are literally enemies to Palestine, enemies to Lebanon, enemies to Russia. Pretty much anyone that's standing up for the good in the world they're opposing, but we're now meant to believe that these Syrian rebels, are somehow the good guys, and America are somehow the good guys in this conflict only. Like, no, of course not. Hello, Elvin. Thank you for joining us. So I'm just reading the chat. The end of Saddam Hussein gave us Hussein, Obama, WH, and presently hundreds of millions of escaping Americans to Westerners. Yeah, good point. But yeah, then we saw the Iranian foreign minister. He met with the Saudi foreign minister to discuss what was going on in Syria. And in my opinion, I think this is when there must have been some sort of deal that happened behind the scenes or something, you know? I think that maybe Assad probably had a chat with him guys and said, look, it's not worth it, he doesn't really care about being in charge anymore. He probably put the, you know, he thought, you know what, if the people don't want me here, I'll leave. That's my personal opinion, you know. Let them see how bad it really can be. If they think I'm so bad, let them see how bad things really can be. Because we started seeing all of these meetings, you know. But yeah, basically they just met up here. Let me just play the video.
Okay, thank you, media. Thank you.
So yeah, all these meetings started to take place, and just like the day before, because obviously it says the 9th now, but it was actually, you know, it's basically the 8th. It might be the 8th still where you guys are. So, but on the 7th of December, excuse me, the general commander of the Syrian Arab Army says it will not surrender and it will continue the war and will wage battles for Damascus, Homs, Hama, Aleppo, and Dara. Obviously things have changed now, as we know, but so then this is what I was trying to say to you guys, that oh, why is it all glitched out? Sorry, it seems to have glitched out. Let me just give it a refresh, because don't know what happened there, guys. It started showing all the new stuff, you know. I had it in order, I had it all set up ready, you know. Maybe if I remove some of these bookmarks it will work. For some reason on Twitter I have this, like, I don't know if it does it for you guys if you bookmark a lot of things, but when I bookmark loads of things, some of the stuff doesn't come up for some reason, and does all this weird glitchy stuff. So excuse me for like a couple seconds just while I clear off what we've already looked at. Hopefully that will fix things, you know. Should have just done it as I went through, to be fair. But let me just give it a refresh. Hopefully it'll work now. Yeah, at least Assad, you know, he made it to Russia, you know. I mean, there was obviously news circulating at first that he'd been killed, and obviously, you know, we didn't want to see that. Whatever you think of the guy, he didn't deserve to be killed, you know, in my opinion anyway. But I think he did care about his country, you know. But a pro-Assad march obviously took place in Damascus, so this just shows you that not everyone in Syria is, you know, supportive of the overthrow of the government, which also will cause later, but that was really loud, which will also cause later problems as well, in my opinion, because if there's still loads of people in Syria that, you know, agreed with Assad, and you've got all these new guys taking over, all these terrorists, there could be some sort of civil war coming, you know. It's very loud. Maybe I'll just mute it. But yeah, there's basically like a protest just going on. You know, they're marching the streets, showing their support. We saw another video come out. Hundreds of supporters in this video in Damascus took to the streets to show their support for Assad as well.
وبس نفديك يا بشار بالروح بالدم نفديك يا بشار بالروح بالدم نفديك يا بشار بالروح بالدم نفديك يا بشار
Yeah, you can see that there's clearly a lot of support there still for him. And then these so-called, you know, heroes that everyone keeps claiming these guys are heroes, they're rebels, you know. Al-Qaeda terrorists is what they are, ISIS terrorists, but they gave an interview to Israel's Channel 11 and said, "Dear neighbours and friends, from the friendly state of Israel, you know, there will be no extremism, we share passion, and we invite Israel to come to Syria and invest." It looks like Israel took that statement quite literally, you know, and they've been invited, they think, but they're just taking over, you know, they're like the unfriendly guest, you know. Have you ever had like a dog? And have you ever seen that meme of like the dog, and it says that, you know, when the Palestinians let Israel in, you know, the dog eventually just grows big and kicks you out of bed? That looks like they're trying to do that to Syria. This is in like Israeli language, so I can't even translate the video. It's a shame I ain't got a translated version, but they did say, "Dear neighbours and friends from the friendly state of Israel, there will be no extremism, we share passion, and we invite Israel to come to Syria and invest." Oh man, oh man. Yeah. Sorry, just checking my DMs to make sure it weren't our guest, but it's not for now. So Libyan citizens made a statement to Syrians. Obviously everyone knows what Libya went through when the US got involved, and they said, "Don't repeat our mistake." I'll play the video. It's got the translation here so I can read it out. So I'm going to put it on mute because I don't know how loud it is for you guys, so I'm just going to read it out. He said, "We heard the same screams, we heard the same cries, we heard the same cries in silence, the same scene. These are all the celebrations that are held now in Syria and were previously held in Libya." And then they said, "What did we do to ourselves? Libya was before Syria. Libya is the same scene that's happening now. In Syria, it happened in Libya. And the silence is the same. A dictator who opposes the American people, who leads the people or governs the people, who abandons freedom. The American comes with the NATO and uses all the mistakes of this regime. He uses all his injustice, he uses all his tyranny to destroy it and to destroy the state that he establishes, to destroy it and to destroy the state that he governs in, and silence in the same scene. The NATO uses the Turkish to win a payment for the invasion of Libya by the leadership of the Al Jazeera channel. What's happening in Syria now happened in silence in Libya, and after 14 years the Libyan cannot form an independent state, the Libyan cannot agree with all its parties. The three countries in one state, this is a result of the NATO movement against Libya. What's happening in Libya in silence also happens in Syria. The Al Jazeera, the Turkish, the NATO, the top of the American, in silence is not because of the weakness of Libya, it's not because of the lack of jurisprudence of Libya, it's not because of the lack of culture in Libya, it's because of the lack of knowledge of Libya, sorry. He was not able to form a state, he was not able to form a single political institution, indivisible, not because he's ignorant, no, because the basis is wrong, because the American is the basis, because the Israeli is the basis. This guy is bang on, man, and it's a shame that, like, I feel like from the beginning, you know, everyone already had their own views of Syria, everyone had their own views of Assad, and no matter all the videos that we kept sharing, all of the videos of the Al-Qaeda and ISIS terrorists praising Israel, the Libyans coming out and saying, "Look, please, like, don't go through what we went through," the message just didn't get across to anyone, man, and everyone's been cheering it on, so it's really a shame, guys, it's really a shame. I mean, Bin Salam, you can have your own thoughts, brother. I mean, I said already at the beginning of the stream, we're going to sit back, you know, and let's see how it plays out. My personal opinion, it's not good to let a terrorist organisation take over your country, you know, it's kind of common knowledge, but if you think you know better, I mean, Israel's already going ham on Syria right now, much worse than they've been doing for years. I mean, you can see what happens, man. We can see what happens. But, so then look, obviously the events started to come out that the Assad government had been overthrown. Obviously someone was quick to change the flag on Wikipedia. Now this is the flag of Syria, folks. Crazy, man, crazy stuff. It is really history that we're witnessing. And exactly, Margaret Jack, what could be wrong? I mean, I don't know who you're replying to. If you're, I'm a bit lost, but if you're saying what could be wrong with Assad being in charge. I mean, I don't think anything could be wrong with him. I think he was doing his best. He was doing the best job he could. You got to remember that not every president and prime minister is going to get everything right. Some things they might do things that people disagree with, but look at Keir Starmer in charge of my country, for example. I don't fucking like the guy at all, not one bit, but I'm not going to let ISIS terrorists take over my country and remove him. Obviously, I know that he's doing a lot bad. He's funding genocides, he's attacking free speech, of course, but I'm sure life will definitely be still better under some sort of fucking guy like him, you know. Obviously, I don't like Keir Starmer, don't get it twisted, but yeah. Yeah, we tried to warn them, LB. We did try to warn them. Everyone tried to warn them. They didn't want to listen, so what can we do, man? What can we do? But yeah, these are scenes from So these are scenes from Bashar al-Assad's presidential palace this morning in Damascus.
بس لا يكسروا هيك هذا مال الشعب والله مال الشعب والله مال الشعب
Yeah, I did see that, LB. I did see the guy that was found dead in his office. Honestly, heartbreaking, you know. He's probably executed by these ISIS terrorists. That's what they're known for, you know. Anyway, the US Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Daniel Shapiro came out and said the United States will maintain its military presence in eastern Syria. What the fuck are the Americans still doing there, man? They're always just meddling with everything. And then this is the original reports that we all sort of, well, I woke up to this morning. Obviously we know that this is not true now. We know that this is not the case now, thankfully, but Reuters basically cited two Syrian security sources apparently, and they claim that there's a very high probability that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad was murdered in a plane crash near Homs last night. The aircraft departing from Damascus International Airport was believed to have been shot down. Obviously we know now that's not true, but just the sort of shit we were seeing this morning. And then we saw looters that were raiding the presidential palace in Damascus as ISIS forces took over. Criminals participated in ransacking the presidential palace as terrorists seized power in Syria. Some were taking furniture, interior items and other valuables from the building. Let's watch the video. So yeah, it's not looking good, man. It's really not looking good. I agree with you completely, Marga Jack. Tools of the US, NATO, Israel, and the people are getting forward. Exactly, man. What do we expect? Look at these guys doing Ukraine. Look what these guys do in Palestine. Look at like what they're funding in Palestine, should I say? What they're funding in Lebanon, funding against Palestine and Lebanon. Sorry. It was a coup, I agree. And yeah, back to your point, Jack. You know, Iraq, Libya, Syria. Who is next? Egypt. Wouldn't surprise me, to be fair. Wouldn't surprise me. I don't know where they'll go next, to be honest. Fucking time will tell, I guess. I'm sure 2025 is going to be a hell of a year, man. Especially with the new US elections and all that as well. It's going to be crazy, man. But we had a former US Army officer came out and said the worst is yet to come in Syria. Oh, look, he just basically said what you said, Mark Jack. The worst is yet to come in Syria. We saw this in Libya and in Iraq. I mean, I think most people with a brain can see what's going on, you know?
The worst is yet to come. The next chapter is going to be a bloodbath. We saw this in Libya. We saw this in Syria and in Iraq. Iraq at least had an occupationary force that kind of sort of kept the peace in some areas and drew a lot of attention from various sides onto itself, the Americans. There's not even going to be this, except for the territories that are occupied by the Israelis and the Turks. And the Israelis aren't going to tolerate a lot of Arabs around. They don't need Arabs.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he even knows that Israel's not going to tolerate this, man. Of course they're not. They're already not tolerating it. This is perfect for Israel. You know how this just plays out perfectly for Israel. Then we saw ISIS and Al-Qaeda terrorists looting banks in Syria. Yeah, crazy scenes. I'm sure the money's not going to even be worth anything soon, you know, but yeah, crazy, man. And then look, it didn't take long, folks, did it? Because Israel began to bomb Damascus instantly, pretty much. Within a few hours of this coup taking place, or this overthrow of the government, whatever you want to call it, Israel jumped straight at the opportunity to start bombing Damascus. They targeted an airport in Damascus. You can see more scenes from the explosions. We've glitched out again, so we're going to give it a refresh. Yeah, honestly, my country's doing horrible things as well, so it sucks. But at least there's people like us speaking up against it in our country to show the world that although our leaders might be corrupt, it's not everyone in the country that agrees, you know. But yeah, Myron made a great point. Myron Gaines, you know. Oh, what the hell? I didn't click on this. That's what I mean. It doesn't take a military expert to see that this is not good, you know. Obviously, Myron Gaines is not a military expert, neither am I. He made a great point. I don't know what's going on today. Why is it glitching out like this, guys? What the fuck? Sorry, I tried to arrange it in a nice order so that it wouldn't be doing all this, but apparently it is. Bear with me a second. So, Myron said, Syria being taken over by rebels and Al-Qaeda is not a good thing for America. At least we knew what Assad was capable of. Now a former Al-Qaeda terrorist, Abu Muhammad al-Julani, wanted by the State Department for 10 million, now runs Syria. More destabilised countries in the Middle East benefits Israel and it leaves us with a larger bill. Exactly. Who's going to be funding the next war, you know? Of course, the American taxpayer is. It's done this shit again, man. This is annoying. It's all in a mad order. I'll have to come back to them things, so I can't be able to keep refreshing it. So yeah, then Israel carried out several airstrikes against buildings in Damascus, including the Passport and Migration Office. And Israel escalated its aggression by advancing into 5 towns in the Syrian Golan Heights. 3 of these towns are located within the 1974 UN supervised buffer zone, territory that Israel illegally captured in the 1973 war and was forced to return to Syria, which is Al-Qrinitra, Al-Hamidiyah, Madinat al-Bath. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong, guys. But more concerning, Israel has also invaded a town beyond the 1974 disengagement line, an area that is never controlled before, which is Khan Anabra. This blatant violation of international law underscores Israel's ongoing occupation of the Syrian territory, as the entire Golan Heights are internationally recognized as Syrian land. Such violations of the 1974 disengagement line are rare, but obviously highlight Israel's disregard for international agreements and the Syrian sovereignty. So there's some images here of what Israel has taken over. You can see here, look, this is the Golan Heights. This is what was returned by Israel, and now they're taking it back. Really crazy life, man, that we live in, right? And then yeah, I don't know where all these images are coming up, but here's another image of Israel captured the Syrian side of the Mount Hermon in the Golan Heights. I mean, Does this look like a victory for Syria, folks? Does this look like victory? Israeli terrorists holding up Israel flags, you know, capturing. They've advanced more in Syria in like under 24 hours than they did in Lebanon and they did in Gaza this whole fucking time, you know. Yeah, Zionists are hacking people. I know they're crazy, man. They are crazy. Sorry, I've missed a lot of comments actually. I thank you, Cleopatra. I appreciate it. I'll never stop going, you know. So I appreciate your support a lot. This is people like you that keep me going. You know, I get a lot of hate. I've had a lot of people unfollow me lately, but I'd rather lose followers and stick to the truth and not you know change the way that I think just to impress people and to gain followers. We're not about that over here. But they bombed an Assad regime's intelligence agency. Do you think this is because they'll find out that he collaborated? You think Israel collaborated with Assad, or you think that the Al Qaeda terrorists collaborated? I think personally that they didn't. I think that maybe Assad behind the scenes spoke to Iran and Russia and said, look, enough's enough, you know, let's just give up. Let's let the people just, if they don't want me here that badly, then we'll let them decide. That's my personal view anyway. Obviously I might be wrong. But then yeah, Netanyahu officially announced the end of the 1974 disengagement agreement in the Syrian Golan Heights, just after taking it all anyway. Of course, it's always a land grab. Obviously more crazy scenes from Damascus. Israel bombing the fuck out of Syria. Heavy Israeli strikes targeted Damascus there. Someone said, I hope it doesn't end up being another genocide. Of course it's going to end up being another genocide. This is Israel we're talking about. These are not, you know, friends of anyone. And yeah, just more images really from Damascus. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Donald Trump came out. Yeah, I know about France as well. You know, you're basically across the water to us, you know. We're all run by the same crazy people. But Donald Trump came out and said Assad is gone. He fled his country. His protector Russia, led by Vladimir Putin, was not interested in protecting him any longer. Well, no, that's not true because he's in Russia right now. But anyway, there was no reason for Russia to be there in the first place. They lost all interest in Syria because of Ukraine, where close to 600,000 Russian soldiers lay wounded or dead in a war that should have never started and could go on forever. Russia and Iran are in a weakened state right now, one because of Ukraine and a bad economy, the other because of Israel and his fighting success. Likewise, Zelensky in Ukraine would like to make a deal and stop the madness. So fuck off, they don't want to make a deal. He said they've ridiculously lost 400,000 soldiers. So you're trying to tell me, yeah, that Ukraine has lost less soldiers than Russia? Like, come on, Trump. Like, enough with the fucking propaganda, man. If Russia, the thing is that Russia admits how many soldiers they lost. Ukraine doesn't. They don't want to speak about these numbers. Same as Israel. They don't ever speak about the numbers. And we always saw Hezbollah and Hamas admitting how many people they lost. Wonder why that is, because they're trying to cover it up, of course. But he said they lost 400k soldiers only, apparently. And many more civilians. Okay. There should be an immediate ceasefire and negotiations should begin. Too many lives are being so needlessly wasted. Too many families destroyed. And if it keeps going, it can turn into something much bigger. And far worse, I know Vladimir well. This is his time to act. China can help. The world is waiting. I mean, when did Trump turn so pro-Ukraine all of a sudden, man? He had a meeting with Macron and Zelensky the other day, didn't he? And now he's coming out of all this nonsense. Interesting. Yeah, loads of civilians had to leave their homes. It's exactly the same as you know, the same as Palestine. They're all being evicted from their homes. So, you know, it's looking like a Palestine 2.0 is about to happen. You know, we wanted to stop the genocide. The genocide hasn't stopped, and instead they're going to start a new genocide. Like, what the fuck? Crazy times. Of course, Keir Starmer came out as well shortly around the same sort of time as Trump. He said the developments in Syria in recent hours and days are unprecedented. We're speaking to our partners in the region and monitoring the situation closely. The Syrian people have suffered under Assad's barbaric regime for too long and welcomed his departure. Our focus is now on ensuring a political solution prevails and peace and stability is restored. We call on all sides to protect civilians and minorities and ensure essential aid can reach the most vulnerable in the coming hours and days. Do you not understand, guys, yeah, that, you know, when people like Keir Starmer and President Trump and Joe Biden and all of these people are coming out and praising this, it's probably not a good thing. These are the same people that don't call what's happening in Gaza a genocide as well, by the way. Of course it's not a victory. Trump during his campaign was all about America. He's elected exactly. It's just bullshit. And everyone was saying that Trump's going to stop the SMO in Ukraine. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it at all. I don't know why he thinks he just so can instantly do it anyway. Israeli PM Netanyahu said, "We extend a hand of peace to our Jews neighbours in Syria, as well as to the Kurds, Christians and Muslims who want to live in peace with Israel." And the fucking propaganda is insane, man. At the same time, they're bombing these people, you know? And at the same time, they're ending all these agreements and taking more land. Actions speak louder than words. Where was we? And yeah, of course, so shortly after the statement, Israel begins its invasion into southern Syria. Let's look at the video.
إذا نذكر أيضا بهذه الصور التي نشاهدها الآن هي صور لآليات الجيش الإسرائيلي التي دخلت إلى أراضي الجنوب السوري للتمركز في بعض المناطق من الجنوب، حيث أيضا كان الجيش الإسرائيلي أنذر سكان قرى أيضا أوبانية والقنيطرة والحميدية والصمدانية والقحطانية في الجنوب.
Yeah, looks great, doesn't it? Yeah, Syria definitely looks free. Syria, you know, they got rid of Assad to be occupied by Israel. Fucking great. Fucking fabulous, guys. Is this really what you wanted? Crazy, man. This is what they're doing to Syria. This is what I said. This is what they're doing to Syria. Are you guys happy now? And someone actually said in the comments that they thought it was AI. Obviously, it turns out that they weren't being funny. You know, I thought that they was just, you know, some sort of Zionist, but they actually seem like a cool guy, man. But it was just a misunderstanding. But he said it looks AI generated, and I said, is this AI too? There's a video of the footage. Is this what a free Syria looks like, guys? And I'm going to agree with you completely, LB, that I personally think that as well. Everyone tried to make out that he didn't care about Syria. Like, why would the guy be attacking his own people, you know? Like, it makes no sense. This propaganda just got out of control. And, of course, he didn't want more bloodshed of his people. And he probably thought, you know what, they hate me this much. Let's let them just get on with it, you know? I'll go live my life with my family and let you guys, the ISIS terrorists, take over. And we'll see how long it takes for them to say we want Assad back. Might not be for a year or two, but they will say it. There'll be a time when everyone goes, do you remember the good old days with Assad? Remember when we weren't occupied by Israel and ISIS terrorists? Maybe Assad wasn't that bad. That's what they will say. But, sorry, excuse me. I mean, I guess the hard way is the only way people learn, you know? Yeah. It's weird how it's all out of, like, we saw this ages ago, you know, now it's all muddled up. Elon needs to fix this bookmark shit, you know? And then look, huge fires continue to spread in the security square in Damascus as a result of an Israeli strike. Got no sound on the video, but you can just see the carnage. This is not good, man. It's starting to look like Gaza, what they're doing to Gaza already. We haven't heard any world leader mention Israel. Why is no one speaking about what Israel's doing, you know? Interesting. Interesting. So then we found out after the false reports that he died from Reuters and all these other sources that Bashar al-Assad and his family are in Moscow. Russia granted asylum to them. So that's what makes me think that they had a chat off the scenes. That's why we stopped seeing Russian bombings happen and all of these other people getting involved. Because I think that he basically said, you know what, just it is what it is. Let's just let them do what they want to do. They actually set the presidential palace on fire as well. And I mean, that could have just been... People are stupid. They just continue to destroy Syria themselves. Like, they could have just renovated it or something. Is that what they wanted to do? I don't know. Re-renovated it. And then Iranian officials came out. I think it was the foreign minister, to be exact. They said Iran warned Assad 2 months ago that HTS was preparing to make a move, but he dismissed the threat. So the Turkish foreign minister gave us assurances that nothing will take place, which turned out to be a lie. After HTS entered western Aleppo, Iran expected Assad to ask for military assistance, and we were fully prepared to oblige with troops and whatever else was needed, but no such request came. After Aleppo fell, it became clear that Assad had no real intentions of staying in power, so we started to engage in diplomatic talks with the opposition and arranged a safe exit of our troops from Syria. If the SAA does not fight, neither will we risk our soldiers' lives. Russia and the UAE had managed to convince him to step down, so there was nothing we could do. And that's what makes me think that, yeah, that was pretty much bang on, that statement. That's basically what I said. Yeah. Crazy, man. And that's, we saw a lot of video. Oh, what have I done? Oh, sorry, I don't know what I've done. Yeah, we obviously saw a lot of videos of like loads of SAA troops just sort of just letting everyone get on with what they was doing. You know, they weren't fighting back. There was no resistance, so kind of correlates with what you said. You know, kind of adds up. Just check my messages. 1 second, sorry. I'll give you a clue. You know, our guest is actually banned on Discord. Sorry, I was just messaging our guest. I think he's joining us in a few minutes, hopefully. Any guesses of who it is, folks? Anyone know? I'll let you know in a minute once he joins, anyway. Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting a guest on. I think he's about to join us in a moment, so we'll quickly go through a little bit more. So yeah, Netanyahu at the Syrian border said, "This is a historic day for Israel. Assad's fall is a direct result of our strikes on Iran and Hezbollah." So he's already taken credit for it, you know. I don't know how this is a positive. I don't know how anyone's sort of going along with this Israeli, you know, narrative. It's kind of crazy to me. And Joe Biden, of course, come out and said, at long last, the Assad regime has fallen. And obviously we've got reports that the Turkish armed forces, alongside the Syrian National Army, are reportedly preparing to launch a major offensive against the Kurdish. That'll be interesting. 1 second, I'm just going to try and add our guest in now. 1 sec. Do it on the other screen. Any guesses who it is? Anyone? Anyone want to guess? So I just messaged him. Hopefully he's going to join us in a second. Any guesses, anyone? It's not Medhurst. I'll give you that clue. It's not Medhurst. It's a very experienced journalist. He's been doing this for many years. He's done plenty of videos about... He predicted all of this was going to happen. So he's very experienced. I can't wait to have him on. Yeah, of course, every time Netanyahu's happy, of course it's a bad day for normal people that are not bloodthirsty. We all know that. I think most people know that. And then Turkish President Erdogan recently came out and said the next 2 to 3 months will be very important for the world and for Turkey. Of course he would say that. Let me show you some other stuff as well while we're waiting for our guest. What I haven't bookmarked, which has been happening over the last few sort of hours. Okay, so yeah, what I was saying, sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted, I'm just looking at the other screen. So, after we saw this, just make sure I didn't miss anything else yet. After we saw Erdogan come out, Israel obviously yeah, of course they're still bombing Gaza. Everyone don't stop talking about Palestine. I want to make that clear as well. But the Great Israel Project continues. New footage shows the Israeli army moving from Majal Shams into the occupied Golan Heights into Syrian areas in Quneitra. Look at the video. Crazy, man. The Great Israel Project continues. It's not Scott Ritter, no. I'll keep telling you who it's not, and you guys can guess. I'm just waiting for them to respond, so I think they will be joining in a minute. I think they're just having, they're just finishing what they're doing quickly. Where was we? Sorry, I've got a new dog. He's being a bit, he's a pup, so he's just getting out. Sorry, but yeah, Israel sorry, I just played that video. And then Israel continues to bomb Syria, of course.
Allahu Akbar. Allah يحمي أهل إسرائيل يا رب. يا حي يا قيوم. يا الله. يرجى الحذر والنزول إلى الأقبية. يرجى الحذر والنزول إلى الأقبية. انفجارات هائلة داخل اللواء. لا إله إلا الله وكأن القيامة قد قامت. يرجى الحذر. انفجارات هائلة في اللواء 12 والفوج 175. لا إله إلا الله. نرجو السلامة للجميع. نرجو السلامة للجميع. لا إله إلا الله. خلال 15 عاما لم نرى هذه الانفجارات. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لا إله إلا الله. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لا إله إلا الله. يرجى حماية الأطفال والنساء والنزول إلى الأقبية.
So yeah, this don't look like victory, does it, guys? Israel just heavily bombing Syria all through the night. Okay, cool. Let's invite the guest in now. Any guesses? One last time. I'm gonna let you guys guess one last time. I'll give you one more opportunity. No one's got it right. Can't believe it. Sorry. I'm just putting a message out on my Telegram one more time. Let everyone join. All right, let's call him. Anyone in the chat guess who it was? No, I don't think anyone guessed it. Cool. Let's just call him in. Oh, 1 second. Privacy settings are not letting me call him. Let me check mine. Sorry guys, just some technical difficulties getting him in. Sorry guys, just trying to add this guest in. It's going to be worth the wait. Yeah, he's just setting up his privacy settings, so we'll just play another quick video. And Israeli tanks continue to invade Syria. Oh no, we played that one, sorry, my bad. And then more, obviously, heavy Israeli strikes all across Syria. It's absolute carnage tonight.
لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. اللواء 12 يحترق. الله يحمينا بإزراع قصف إسرائيلي على اللواء 12 والفوج 175. انفجارات هائلة داخل اللواء. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله يحمي أهل إزراع يا رب. يا حي يا قيوم. يا الله. يرجى الحذر والنزول إلى الأقبية. يرجى الحذر والنزول إلى الأقبية. انفجارات هائلة داخل اللواء. لا إله إلا الله وكأن القيامة قد قامت. يرجى الحذر. انفجارات هائلة في اللواء 12 والفوج 175. لا إله إلا الله. نرجو السلامة للجميع. نرجو السلامة للجميع.
Right, our guest should be ready. So yeah, terrorism in Syria. Pray for Syria, man. Yeah, I think he is. I'm not sure. I'm not Arabic, but yeah, I'm gonna call our guest. Let me try. Let me play the rest of the video.
لا إله إلا الله. خلال 15 عاما لم نرى هذه الانفجارات. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لا إله إلا الله.
Sorry, it's not letting him call me either for some reason. Just sent me a StreamYard. Okay. Okay, looks like we're joining now. We're just making sure the camera's working. Sorry about these technical difficulties, guys. Oh. Are you guys still here in the chat? Sorry, I'm being a bit annoying right now, I know. Fuck Israel, of course. Sorry, guys. Yeah, thank you, Cleo, for being your patience. We are trying to make it work. Trying to figure a way. How do I take a screenshot on Windows? Does anyone know? How do I do a screenshot on Windows? So I can just screenshot him the error message I've got. Apologies for the delay. I'll give you guys another guess, man. Who's joining the stream? Where's the surprise guest? I know, yes, that we're having some technical difficulties. I'm trying to call him, but I was trying to use this Streamlabs thing, but it says that I'm using sorry, I'm trying to use this StreamYard thing, but it's saying that I'm already using Streamlabs. Yeah. Close any other devices that may be using my camera. Sorry. I'll play some videos, man. Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading the chat quickly. Yeah, sorry guys, he's just updating his Telegram, so I'll just quickly show you something else. Here's a tweet that we saw come out from the people that have been openly, you know, defending the they've been defending the rebels so hard, and now they're coming out and saying there's no excuse for Israel to target the newly liberated territories now. This is considered an act of aggression. There's no longer Assad forces or Iranian forces. We've liberated our country, and Israeli airstrikes on weapons depots are now considered aggression because these weapons belong to the Syrian state chosen by the Syrian people. In the new Syria, we are not a hostile country, and therefore Israel must stop these strikes, otherwise our stance in the media towards Israel will change. These people are fucking crazy, man. They are absolutely crazy. Oh yeah, maybe it was my fault. I think I might have fixed the problem now, hopefully. Please pray. It's meant to be our first guest on the stream and it's not going well. Interesting. Oh, he's gonna call me now, I think. So yeah, let's just go to one more piece of news before he joins us. Gonna retweet the stream because he's about to join. Oh yeah, this is a crazy video, a bit off topic, but the Russians, you know, they're built different. Look at this crazy video. Hear all that. Savage, man. Absolute savage. Stayed up to 1 AM for this, so it better work. It better work. I've got work in 4 hours or something as well. I think they're just doing it on their phone now instead. Okay, sorry, I think it was my... How do I get it to... Aha! Hello?
Finally, all right.
Yeah, man, we're here. What's up, Ryan? It's Ryan Dawson, everyone. Let me put you onto the stream so everyone can see. You got video?
Oh, well, I'm on a phone.
Oh, what's going on, man? Can everyone hear Ryan? Put me a W in the chat if you guys can hear Ryan. Thank you for joining us, Ryan. I know it's a bit of a nightmare, but it's great to have you here. Can you see me, by the way? Because I can't see you. Oh, yeah, I can see you now. What's going on, man? Can you see me on video? Oh yeah, I can see you, man. What's going on? Thanks for joining us, bro. Oh, I can't call you that, can I? Sorry, Ryan. It's the UK, man. But yeah, thank you for joining us. How you been? We've got W's in the chat. Everyone's happy to see you. I can't hear you though, and I can't see you anymore. Hello? I don't know if we lost him. We got W's for Ryan, man. Everyone give him a round of applause. He's been doing this for ages. I can see you again. Thank you, man. How are you doing, bro? How are you doing, Ryan? Wait, I can't hear you. Got no sound. Oh, no, I can hear you now.
All right. Well, I guess I can't do headphones.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Everyone in the chat's really happy to see you. Obviously, you've been covering this for many, many years. You deserve a lot of appreciation for the time and work you put in. But first of all, I wanted to say, what's your thoughts on what's going on in Syria? I know you've been covering this for years. You've got many documentaries and all that about it. Pretty much everything you predicted's come true. So, yeah, what's your thoughts of what's been going on over the last 48 hours or so?
Yeah, I wish I wasn't right. I really need to get this headphones to work because I can barely hear you through the phone.
Okay.
I'm gonna try something.
Go on. Everyone retweet
Let's
the
see.
space as well. Got a big guest.
That doesn't have a microphone, does it?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, but when I
Huh? Can't hear you now.
yeah, so either I can't hear you or you can't hear me because if I plug in the headphones, you can't hear me. If I unplug them, I can barely hear you.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I can.
Let's see.
Maybe.
I'm trying to find a different pair.
Yeah, no problem. We'll wait for you, man.
Yes.
But
You
yeah,
asked
getting
about
loads of
Syria,
W's
though.
around.
It's just horrible.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I mean, pretty much everything you've said has come true, you know. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think's going to happen next for Syria.
I guess we can do this with speaker as long as you don't have an echo.
Yeah, just let me know. I'll try to fix it if it is the case.
It is what it is, but I don't get paid, so I have what I have. We tried it on the PC, we couldn't get through.
Yeah.
Did it on the phone, then the headphones break.
Yeah, I know, man.
Glorious.
Before we
Feel
get
like the
into
Syrian
questions,
army.
Yeah, before we get into any questions, how can everyone support your work? Because, like you said, you're demonetized off everything. You're even banned off of Discord. I tried to get him to join on Discord. He told me he's banned from there as well. That's crazy, man. So what's the best way everyone can support you?
I'm banned on crypto exchanges. When I say everything, that's what I mean. X and Telegram is, they don't ban anybody on Telegram anymore, but
Yeah, I mean, Telegram is
that's
pretty
it.
much one of the safest we got. Although that stuff happened with the CEO a while back, so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, man. What's your thoughts on like obviously the ongoing the last 24 hours? We saw Assad's apparently he's in Russia now. He's safe, but we had like reports at first saying that he'd been killed and all of that. But what's the future for Syria looking like, man? In your
I said he was in Russia, and he is. There was some false reports, though, saying he went to the UAE or that his plane was shot down in Homs, which didn't make any sense because that's not the direction he'd be going. But good that he and his family are out because they would have been murdered and raped. It's awful. I covered the Syrian conflict every day. And we have this twisted narrative from the West of, like, you can read it. Every British and American paper say he ruled with an iron fist and blah, blah, blah. It really makes you start questioning history because that absolutely isn't what happened. And it's such a hard thing for them to sell, to say Al-Qaeda is actually the good guys and Assad, he was the evil, mean Alawite that ruled with an iron fist as a religious minority in Syria, the eye doctor who only got into power because his brother got in a car accident. Bashar al-Assad was the president from the year 2000 to 2011 without incident. So for 11 years, no violence, no incident, no even accusations of him being sectarian. And then all of a sudden, after the U.S. is done with Iraq and Libya, then he decides to go full sectarian and start oppressing the Sunni, even though in the middle of an Arab Spring, when people are being overthrown, it's going to be a good idea to attack the Sunni, who are overwhelmingly the majority of the people in his country. That's the story they want you to believe. That this guy who sat peaceful for over a decade decided to go after the majority in his country in the middle of a revolutionary era, where they saw what happened in Egypt and Libya, and of course the invasion of Iraq. That wasn't really a revolution that was taken over, but the sectarian violence in Iraq was ongoing. Hell no, that's not what happened. This was instigated by intelligence agencies. They had snipers in the crowd, same as they did in Maidan in Ukraine. And they used that as a pretext to invade Syria. And this is something that was written out in Israeli policy papers as well as the U.S., because the U.S. follows Israel since they blackmail and bribe them. And so there's no conspiracy. It's nothing fancy. It's not like, oh, well, actually, this is super secret anything. No, from Oded Yanan in the 80s that Israel Shahak and others revealed, you can read their stated goals. And they say, we're going to use these Sunni Salafists as a battering ram and try to foster sectarian fighting the way we did with the giant civil war in Lebanon. Let's do a repeat in Syria. And they openly state after Saddam was removed from power because he was the great threat since he had Scuds that could reach Israel, that Syria was next. And the reason was it was the most doable, and it severs Iran's support from Hezbollah by physically controlling all the highways in and out to Lebanon. And they thought, yeah, well, there's a giant Sunni majority, so we'll just get them to hammer the Alawites and we will topple Syria. And it doesn't matter if it goes to Al-Qaeda. It didn't matter in Libya either when they killed Gaddafi and handed that country over to terrorists, which has been stuck in civil war ever since. Didn't matter. And that's what they did. And you can see that with Ral al-Sham or Al-Nusra Front, which is now renamed HTS, whatever, it's all Al-Qaeda, it's all ISIS, it's all head-chopping, lunatic, identitarian, Sunni Salafists, which, let me point out, that is different than just saying the Sunni, just as it's different just when we're talking about Zionists who are Jewish supremacists, is different than just being a Jew or the Jews. And it's important to be accurate about terminology. You cannot just say Jew, and you cannot just say Sunni, because that's not what it is. These are supremacist factions. These are identitarians, fundamentalists, religious fanatics. And they don't speak for the entirety of the group that uses the same categorization or label. And you can say the same thing with Christian Zionists and so on and so on. That should go without saying. It should, but it doesn't. In today's era of TikTok brain, as Andrew Tate likes to call them, or the light switch brain is what I like to call them, where everything's either or, you do have to explain stuff like that because the nuance is dead and the internet killed it.
Yeah,
but here we are.
I'll say, yeah, I completely agree with you. You know, it's like, for example, everyone just wants to, blame the Jews as a whole. Like, then it gives Israel don't really have any legs to stand on after the amount of genocides and all of this stuff they've been doing for all of these years. But that's what they sort of use. They try and compare it to anti-Semitism, and it just gives Israel a talking point that they don't deserve to have. And going back to your point as well, it's crazy how we've been comparing Israel to ISIS for the past whatever many years, and now everyone's coming out to support ISIS all of a sudden. It's crazy.
It's such a hard sell, and you see these genocidal maniacs that are murdering children in Gaza, that blow up hospitals and blow up kids on a playground, shoot them in the skull, and they put them on a calorie diet. They shot people who surrounded the aid trucks that finally got through. Then they just started blowing up the aid trucks and killing the food workers too. Churches, mosques, nothing sacred. They'll burn it all down, and then they'll blame it on Hamas. Like, it's just blaming the victim. I say, well, they're just, all they have to do, there's no way out for Gaza. And they tried to expand territory into Lebanon. They lost too many soldiers fighting Hezbollah. And they realized, look, the way to cut off Hezbollah is through Syria. If we cut their support from Iran, they won't be able to fight. And it's true. They will wither and die without Iran. And now that they have Syria, Hezbollah, they don't have to do anything but wait. And that's all they really had to do with Syria. Syria barely won the war that went on from about 2011 to 2018. They, with the aid of Iran and Soleimani and Hezbollah and Russia, were able to beat back these Takfiri terrorists, these Salafists, Daesh, whatever you want to call them, head-chopping lunatics. But they pushed them into the northwest corner in Afrin, particularly in Idlib, which was always sort of a Sunni enclave, rather fanatic, through negotiation. But this was when Russia was strong and wasn't at war with Ukraine and NATO. And the Israelis knew that they were winning that war until Russia got involved. And with Russian air power, that, you know, to match the Israeli air power, because Israel did over 200 strikes on Syria this year, just this year, 200 airstrikes. It's millions of dollars every time there's an airstrike, and their economy just couldn't handle it. And of course, the Israelis could, because America pays them billions every year for the extortion racket that they run. And yeah, without Russia, that they would be able to roll over Syria quite easily, even though they have experienced fighters and they did have some weapons. They couldn't even pay the salaries of their soldiers. $50 a month or so, it was basically nothing. You're doing it out of patriotism or something. And look, if you can't or won't pay for an army, then you don't have one. And the other side's willing to do it. It's easy for them to bribe a few officers and tell you to stand down, and that's it. In this day and age with Blitzkrieg, with everything's mechanized and mobilized and all the drones and things which they got from Ukraine, they overwhelmed them. And the SAA just stood down and retreated because, like, without Russia and with Hezbollah stuck in their ceasefire and Iran, dealing with Israel for the last year and a half, they didn't stand a chance. Even 35,000 people could take over their country because they don't have a real army without a real payment. And they couldn't generate revenue because the Kurds were squatting on their oil protected by America. So which, by the way, they sent to Israel. That there's a pipeline starts in Azerbaijan. It's called the BTC. There's one in gas and parallel to it oil. It goes from Azerbaijan to Turkey, and then it goes by the Mediterranean to Israel, which goes from Haifa to Eilat, although Eilat's bankrupt now, out the Red Sea, and that's their pipeline of gas and oil that goes to Asia. They can't go east. Couldn't go through Afghanistan, obviously. Couldn't go through all those mountains and things either. They did it by seaport. And, Iran and Syria and Iraq had a rival pipeline that was set to be built that would go to the coast of Syria that would circumvent that. So the Turks and Israelis didn't want that at all. But the Israelis have always wanted Syrian land. They're all for Greater Israel. And Turkey, Erdogan is, he's all mouth about, and you'll see this this is not Al-Qaeda like Muhammad Atta and 9/11 Al-Qaeda. They hated the Israelis. These guys, this new iteration, have realized, no, this is a theme to gain land. They apologized to Israel. The only incident where some fighters attacked them, they went and apologized to the Zionists. They're willing to work with them. Israel's already taken more of the Golan Heights. The moment the Syrian army is out of the way, they took more land. And Israel has never attacked ISIS. They're our staunch ally, and they never joined the war on terror, supposedly, that we're doing, to attack the terrorists right next door. Because they favor that over Hezbollah. And their ambassadors and things have said this. They've stated openly, well, yeah, our goal is to get rid of Hezbollah. How about ISIS? They go, no, ISIS doesn't attack Israel, so they're not a threat. But they're terrorists. They're threats to others. They've attacked European states. They're obviously attacking Syria. That doesn't matter. Syria is their enemy. Syria allowed the flow of weapons to go from Iran to Hezbollah. Well, Israel created Hezbollah in the first place by invading Lebanon. And they have every right to defend Lebanese territory. Hezbollah didn't attack Israel. In every incident, they've always started it by attacking Lebanon. And then, yeah, they're isolated now, and that was the plan. That went on again with the clean break papers from Richard Pearl and Wormser and these Jewish neocons in the Defense Department laid it out. Once we get rid of Iraq, we can go into Syria. And here's the plan, ABC. This is all ultimately to force out Hezbollah, is to attack their allies. And you attack the weakest link. And out of, between Hezbollah and Syria and Iran, they felt like Syria was the most doable because you have this fragile Alawite leader who has a coalition of Christians and Druze and other minority Islamic sects versus this overwhelming Sunni majority. And they thought they could, if they get it sectary and they can get that Sunni majority to turn on them, which is 80% of their own army too, and that would be the end of Assad. And he was the only thing holding it together. Secular leader, female vice president, not what I would call nutty at all. But now you've got these bearded lunatics from everywhere. Most of them are not Syrian. There's Uyghurs in Aleppo right now taking people's houses. They just Israel houses. That's when you just walk up and steal someone's house. Say if I didn't do it, someone else would. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
Chinese fighters, Tajikistan, Kosovo. There's Chechens. There's Sunni fanatics from wherever they can pull them from. Just annexing and taking territory. Half of Syria's population is gone as refugees, and the European High Court wouldn't let them return. Afraid they would help Assad. Wouldn't let them return even when the war ended, which is insane. So this will exacerbate the refugee crisis. And Syria, half of it is still annexed by Kurds, so Al-Qaeda doesn't have all of it. But they have Homs, and they have Hama, they have Damascus, they have Aleppo, they have all the major cities other than Raqqa, which the Kurds have, and Deir ez-Zor, which the Kurds took. And the Kurds are next. They've had Syria's oil that they sell to Israel, so they have enough revenue to actually finance an army and pay them. But they're not going to be able to withstand the backing of the Turks and the armaments they have on this Renta army. It's going to be something else. The only good thing that come out of this is Erdogan has shown his true colors. A lot of people who live in Turkey are going to be angry because they did support Palestine and they did support fighting against Israel, and they've just handed them what Israel's always dreamed of and couldn't manage on their own. See, when the Israelis attack, everyone would unify against them, including the Sunni. But when you pit Muslims against each other, that doesn't happen. And now you have these ape-brain retards that are just looting everything in Syria right now. They threw a big party and filmed it and go, look, everyone's happy. Like, yeah, that's your own 20,000 fighters there in a couple streets in Damascus. You see what's going on. And journalists being rounded up. They emptied the prisons, by the way. So just, any prisoner, you're out now. And they're looting and stealing and raping and murdering. The West won't report it. They don't report it in Gaza either. It doesn't matter. If Israel can rape their own prisoners and get away with it. And so ISIS will be able to do the same. And it really should make you question historical events. Because we're all watching this in real time. And, from the crap from the 40 beheaded babies and stuff, and the stuff they're saying about Assad gassed his own people, none of that was true. It was the terrorists that used the gas and blamed it on Assad. They didn't care. White Helmets Media out of Britain is the PR firm for Al-Qaeda. They went with it. And it should really start making you question other attacks from Al-Qaeda, too. What's going on? I mean, they have such a hand-in-glove relationship with Western intelligence agencies in Syria, after 9/11, and they certainly did in Afghanistan when they were created by the U.S. before 9/11. But they want you to believe, but during 9/11, they were absolutely segregated and did it all by themselves. That's sarcasm.
Yeah. No, it's completely true. Everything you say is bang on, Ryan. And I suppose this is why they ban you from all these platforms, because you pretty much predict the future. I mean, everyone tries saying that, Alex Jones used to be the guy that predicts everything. But we've even seen him, he's basically, he bends the knee to the Zionists as well. And but
Alex Jones said to take Moabs. That's the biggest bomb you can make that isn't nuclear. It's called the mother of all bombs. He wanted the Moab Gaza in rows, like cluster bombs with Moabs, inch by inch, and just annihilate it, turn it into pebbles. That's what he said in October, after October 7th. He goes, the only way you can do this, you got to move the people out. And then what I would do is just use Moabs in rows on Gaza City, inch by inch, just boom, 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 shock and all, annihilate everything. As if it's okay, even if you moved all the people, which you can't, and where they're supposed to go, just make everybody homeless. Because, well, we wouldn't want soldiers to go in and fight soldiers, because then Israelis would get shot too. So let's just annihilate the whole civilian population to save, our soldiers' lives. When the whole reason you were attacked is because you've been attacking them for 75 years. It's just he is a Zionist.
Yeah, and it's crazy. At the beginning,
every time there's something legitimate, Alex Jones just throws crazy sauce on it. Goes in and, it's the Bavarian death cult Illuminati, the New World Order, globalist, elite, deep state. He'll say anything but Zionist.
And do you remember at the beginning of his career, though? Not at the beginning, 20 years ago, when the Twin Towers attack happened, he was pretty spot on back then. He used to be he was calling out a lot more, but it seems like something happened.
Yeah, you know what? On September 12th, he came out and said it was the Israelis, and he knew what was going on. And boy, they quickly commandeered his ass. And he married a masseuse, a Jewish masseuse, cheating on his wife all the time. Guys, he isn't what he preaches. He does drugs. He says don't do drugs, don't smoke weed and stuff, and he does it all the time. He's sitting there talking about clockwork elves and just nonsense, and that's his job. He took a report from Bill Cooper, who actually predicted 9/11 and said they blame it on Osama bin Laden. And Alex reiterated what Bill Cooper said. Bill Cooper was killed. The police shot him in the head after that. And then Alex just went full crazy with just his Bavarian death cults and his Bilderberg giant owls and black helicopters and microwaving your money to see if there's RFID chips in it, and his earthquake machines and crisis actors every time there's a shooting. He just went full retard. I don't know if that was to try to avoid lawsuits, but ended up getting him one with Sandy Hook, which then he denied denying it. It's like, dude, do you have any remorse that you told people that these families were pretending their kids were dead and a bunch of crisis actors to take your guns? Because that is what he did. He'd be like, well, I like Alex. He's entertaining. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, he lied about that over and over again. And then he lied about it. I was just trying to cover up. Shut the fuck up. You told everybody those people didn't really die, and it's a bunch of crisis actors. You said it over and over again. And he got sued for it. Now, I don't think it should be $1 billion. And I think they went after him basically because he became a Trump supporter, and that's why they went after his money and his network. They didn't care that he was saying crazy stuff about everything. They loved him until he became a Trump supporter. Then they went after him. But he was the gift that kept on giving, because I tried to talk about September 11th or the Iraq War, Syria, or anything else. First thing someone says, like, well, yo, Building 7, blah, blah. It's all the Alex Jones talking points, the freaking airplane deniers and stuff. And it's just, he turned everything into a tar baby. So I'm very happy he's out of the way.
Yeah, no, 100%. What do you think about Trump then? Do you think there's when Trump comes in January, do you think there's any sort of hope with peace in Palestine? And of course, what do you think he's going to do? Like anything with Ukraine as well? Or?
Yeah, that one. He's brought in a bunch of Christian Zionists. So it doesn't really matter if you replace Jewish Zionists with Christian Zionists. A Zionist is a Zionist. He's so bad on the Middle East, but the places where it's better than Biden. I mean, Genocide Joe just let Israel go in and murder at will 100,000 people plus. It's far more than what they're saying. Trump is better on Ukraine, and he's better on North Korea. He was willing to talk to North Korea, which is exactly what we ought to be doing. He may have an opportunity to do that, seeing that President Yoon is now resigning from the stunt of martial law and da-da-da-da. His defense minister was arrested. So the new party that comes in, and I hope it's not Lee, because he's crazy in a different direction, but they will be willing to talk with North Korea, and Trump could be their partner in that when he comes in January. As for Ukraine, Trump and Vance and RFK Jr. and Tulsi and a lot of his better cabinet picks, none of them great, but better than Anthony Blinken, better than John Sullivan, who said, Al Qaeda's on our side. Everything's better than Biden's admin. I don't care how bad Marco Rubio is or how bad any of Trump's picks are. Compare it to Biden's cabinet, and it's night and day. You had, under Joe Biden, you had Team Pregnant Men. Okay? It was an assault on the fabric of reality itself, what he did with his fucking COVID mandates and getting all those people fired out of the military, his botched pullout out of Afghanistan, where they moved the army out first and then the civilians. Idiot. And yeah, he started the war in Ukraine. That was their plan the whole time. If Hillary had been elected, it would have happened back then. So yeah, Vance and Trump and his admin apparently want out. They want peace in Ukraine. Trump is a businessman. He wants to, oil and gas. He'd like it to be cheap. He could work with the Russians. That's where he shines. Whether or not he can do it, because Biden's trying as hard as he can to destroy everything by giving them ATACMS or giving them the green light to use the ATACMS he gave them in March. And, sending more millions of dollars. They just sent another 900 million, so just short of $1 billion, to Ukraine for more arms. They're trying to make it as hard as possible for Trump to get out of Ukraine. And he was going to get out of Syria, too. That's too late. If America left Syria, then Assad could have negotiated with the Kurds to get oil revenue and to start paying his army again. Too late.
Yeah,
Syria's gone. It's awful.
Sorry, go on.
It's awful. Yeah, it's awful. So yeah, but as far as Gaza and Iran, Trump is just as bad as anybody. That's how it is in America. You don't get elected unless you toe the line for Israel. I don't think what he does understand that the war in Ukraine relates to the Middle East, because Israel knew that they had to handcuff Putin to Ukraine or they wouldn't be able to topple Syria, which is true.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I was gonna say, what's next for Syria? A lot of people seem to be celebrating, and already we've seen within like 12 hours, Israel has started a huge bombing campaign. It looks like they've even taken more of Syria than they did the whole time they was in Lebanon within 12 hours. I don't know how this is a free Syria. I don't know how.
Yeah, they went on the other side of Hermon Mountain. They've already annexed. Israel has already annexed more land in Syria, and that's once they take land, that's forever. You're not getting that back. Is ISIS gonna fight Israel? Hell no. They're gonna go after the Kurds internally and take more territory.
And we've already seen Israel, destroying all of the military airports and everything already. So even if they wanted to fight,
yeah, they're
back,
blowing up the air defense systems, so there's nobody there manning them. So Israel's going to get rid of those, and they'll never get them back. They definitely don't have the money to get any Book M1 Panthers or S-200s. Forget about it. They'll blow those up. They blew up the Office of Records too, where the visas are processed and things. They don't want Al Qaeda getting that information, but. Yeah, we lay down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. This is very dangerous, siding with Sunni Salafists. We saw what happened when the U.S. did that in Afghanistan. You ended up with September 11th.
Exactly, man. And yeah, I was gonna say. So, what do you think? Obviously, at first it looked like that Syria was sort of attempting to fight back at least, but then over the last 48 hours we saw Russians weren't bombing Syria anymore. Do you think there was some sort of talk in the background, maybe Assad spoke with Putin and they just said, what, if them guys don't want me here, I'll just let them get to it, sort of thing, and they escorted him out safely? Or what do you think that how did it end up coming to this, where Assad ended up going to Moscow?
Russia and Syria did bomb HTS and they did kill a lot of terrorists, but the boots on the ground just weren't there. And it's like I said, they couldn't pay their soldiers' salaries. And it appears some of the officer class may have been bribed. There's no explanation for why the Tiger Force was sent down south into the desert on the moment that the terrorists attack Aleppo. But, if you bribe the right officer, he's like, okay, you guys go down there, go away. And it gave them carte blanche. They rolled right in. And a lot of Sunnis, the majority of both sides are Sunni, by the way. The majority of the SA is also Sunni. Over years of this rhetoric, they start believing it. Because they're like, well, Assad, he's not fixing the economy. What was he supposed to do? They're sanctioned their most valuable territories annexed with the Kurds sitting on the oil. They don't have a way to get on their feet again. There's no capital. They can't get loans. There's no economic aid. Their partners are also broke. What were they supposed to do? And so people were hungry for change. They don't understand all the economic situation. They just know it's not getting any better. It's still not going to get better under Al-Qaeda. They will still be sanctioned. Maybe they can go steal the oil and get that back from the Kurds, but it never should have sat like that. And the international community should have pointed out there is an ethnic nepotism. We have a faction of people that squatted on oil that was physically taken. They call it Rojava, Kurdistan of Syria. And the revenue, they sell it to Israel and they exclusively spend it on themselves. They'll pay for their own military, the Kurdish forces and the YPG, but it doesn't go to Syria, even though it's in Syria. As a sovereign state, all that revenue should have been Syrian and paid for what they needed it to be used on, and it wasn't. You can blame the Kurds just as much as Al-Qaeda for helping in the demise of Syria, and it's going to bite them in the ass because it will be their own demise too. Because the Turks are not friendly with Kurds. And they don't care if they're communist Kurds or any kind of Kurd. They don't care. They don't care if YPG or PKK or whether they don't care. They will be next, and they're already fighting in Manbij right now. So that's, an easy call.
Yeah, and this this stuff's just honestly heartbreaking. I didn't think it was actually going to come to this. Obviously we saw. I mean, you've been covering this Syria stuff way before I have. I mean, you've probably seen this coming for a long while. But did you ever expect it to end up this bad? I mean, this was very quickly as well. This happened. It was like 12 days or something, was it, that this lasted? And Assad's already gone. They took over the entire population of Syria. I mean, they've cleared out everywhere.
What they could not achieve in 8 years of fighting, they did in 12 days. But also note that almost half the country has been Kurdistan the whole time, protected by Americans.
Yeah, and I think it's funny as well, how I think, in my opinion, it's kind of like a PR stunt as well from obviously like the Americans and everyone backing the ISIS and Al-Qaeda forces in Syria. But I think it's, the world started to see that NATO was failing in Ukraine. I mean, it's been going on for nearly 3 years, and, it's just Russia against basically all of NATO. We all know that it's a proxy war. And obviously they're failing in Gaza as well, They're killing civilians, yeah, sure, but they haven't defeated Hamas. So do you feel like this was some sort of PR stunt to try and show the world? They're trying to make it out that, Russia and Iran are weak. That's the narrative they've been running with today, that they're sort of trying to blame them guys. I mean, do you agree? Or?
No, I don't. They're not after Hamas either. They are there to exterminate Palestinians.
Yeah.
You can never defeat Hamas. Like, everybody's Hamas at this point. And when you go and you just murder people's children, grandchildren, when you act the way Israel's doing, every single person in Gaza hates you with the utmost intensity that a person can hate someone else, and rightly so. What do you expect the reaction to be when you go in and you blow up their schools and their hospitals and their apartment buildings, and they're not safe anywhere, and you do all the abuse that Israel's done, the collective punishment, just murdering Palestinians at will? What are they supposed to do? Say, okay, now we're friends? Of course they hate you, and they want you dead, and they want you out of Gaza. What would happen if it was reversed? If some power came and started killing all the Jews and blowing up their schools and hospitals and had them trapped with a wall around their city and just like a turkey shoot, just killed them by the hundreds of thousands. Would you be friends with them? Ready? Like, oh no, if only you get rid of this faction. What faction do you think exists in Palestine that's going to be friendly to Israel? It'll never happen. How could it? You're calling them animals and Amalek and quoting like biblical scripture of genocide. And that's not just a few bad apples. That was everyone. The prime minister, the president, the most highest heads in the Knesset, they all said this trash. And they did it too. They are Alex Jones in Gaza, not with Moabs, but with JDAMs and gunfire and tank fire and artillery. They've turned It looks like Swiss cheese. They've destroyed Gaza City and Khan Yunis, and they're thinking of sending down settlements again in the future. And anyone blaming Iran and Russia, like, there wouldn't be a Syria without Iran and Russia. That was the stated goal. They got to get rid of Putin or they can't get Syria. They knew that. You can blame America because Syria's and Israel, the Syria's economy was crippled. And if you can't pay your soldiers, then you don't have any. $50 a month, like here's a carrot, a potato, and a cigarette. That's not a salary. They were crippled, and they couldn't get economic aid from anybody. Iran doesn't have it. And look at where are the Arab allies? Where was the Arab League? They have Saudi Arabia, these guys, they have plenty of money. No, you're not Sunni. So, not a dime for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, Erdogan, he's been talking the big talk for, since the genocide begun. But then all of a sudden he's so quick to move in on Syria, shows how much he really...
Well, where were the Sunni leadership when Gaza got invaded? Because what I saw, their defenders, was Hezbollah, which is Shia militia of Iraq, Yemen, and Iran. Where are the Sunnis? It's Palestinians are Sunni. They're the ones being butchered and killed. Where are your brothers? Well, they're eating ice cream on their gold-plated jet, they don't give a damn. Bunch of rhetoric. Erdogan said he'd cut off oil and trade, but he didn't. He's all mouth. But he'll certainly arm the Salafists that invade Syria. Not one bullet for Israel. Plenty for his neighbors who were fighting Israel. Assad shot down Israeli F-16s, which were really American because they gave them to him. He killed Israelis when they came to invade his nation. He held the line. But they were broke. And the war of economic attrition they lost. They won on the battlefield. It's a little bit like the American Civil War. The very beginning of that war, even though they were outnumbered, outgunned, out everything, the South was winning that war on the ground. But over time, the economic attrition hit in. Lincoln could 40% of his army was mercenaries. He could afford to keep replacing soldiers, and the South could not. And he had salaries in manufacturing, and they did not. And that's how it was with Syria, with, Zayedin and earlier, Soleimani from Iran. They had some real generals. Zayedin was a Drew, by the way, from Daraa. They outmaneuvered. And with Russian air support, they were able to beat these terrorists back. However, economically, they suffered the whole time. And they really, without their oil, couldn't get on their feet again. Not just their oil, like without half of their land, pretty much. They lost all of that. They really were just those city-states that just got taken. Homs, Hama, Damascus, Palmyra, and Deir ez-Zor. El Tanf was also taken by the Americans. They just squatted on it with a base, blocking the road. They don't want weapons from Iran going to Syria because they can go through onto Hezbollah. The Americans are squatting there. What was he supposed to do? And how would you like Iran to fix this? They have enough of their own problems. They've been defending themselves against Israeli airstrikes, and they've also struck back. Their main proxies there are Yemen Navy and Hezbollah artillery, which they've been financing. You want them to take care of Syria too? You've got people. You've got weapons. You don't have money. That was their weak spot. Russia too, the ruble's not doing so well now. They are locked in a war de facto with NATO. They did do some airstrikes. Man, if you can't hold on for 12 days, you can't expect mobilization. They couldn't. And I think their officer class was bribed, because I don't know what in the world else could excuse or explain why the Tiger Force, the crack troop veterans of the Syrian army, were sent away from Aleppo down south on the day of the ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel, which is exactly when they attacked Aleppo. That just doesn't square with me.
Yeah, I know, and we saw the videos coming out as well out of Syria, and the SAA forces, they weren't even resisting, you know. So it kind of goes with what you said, that they was probably bribed or something.
There was no point. There was no point. The terrorists had satellite intelligence. Now who has that? Not them. And you know, they could hook to Starlink. They had drone warfare. They knew where all the defensive positions were. And yeah, you saw over and over again the Syrian Air Army just ran, left their weapons and ran. The only thing that made this 12 days long is they slowed down to collect all the trucks and tanks and weapons and RPGs and things each time they took a city and village. That's the only thing that slowed it down. They stopped to loot the treasures. And they've looted the gold. They've robbed all the banks. They've stolen people's houses in Aleppo and replaced it with their own foreign fighters. This is awful. This is the barbarians through the gate type of event. And they're cheerleading this crap. Because that's what Israel wanted. They wanted to break Syria. They wanted to break the resistance, and they've done it. And now Hezbollah is isolated, and they will wither on the vine without Iran.
And the timing's interesting as well, you know, just after the ceasefire in Lebanon. Was it the same day or the day after this all kicked off?
It's the same day because that was signed at like 4 a.m. So before the ink was even dry, there they go.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of them, when that was signed, they went home. And so, while they were fighting the Israelis, a lot of Hezbollah had left Syria to go fight in Lebanon against the Israelis. They're emptying them out. And Syria really had nothing left. Like, they know how to fight. They're certainly veterans of that war. But some of them had to buy their own bullets and their own uniform. They couldn't even afford to uniform their troops. That's how poor they were. If you don't have money, you don't have an army. And that's what would have happened to Ukraine without NATO. Within a few weeks, they would have run out of money, and that would have been it. Industry is part of war, and Syria didn't have it. Even though they retook Aleppo after it had been physically uprooted, all the manufacturing, they took it and carried it to Turkey. He is the thief of Aleppo, and now he has it all. Erdogan's a criminal. So is Netanyahu. And that is a team. This is not a Jew versus Muslim thing. I wish people would get that out of their head.
Exactly, man. And it's honestly heartbreaking as well. We've seen loads of people just turning their backs on Hezbollah and Iran because they, for some reason, think that Syria would be better off without Assad. And it's like they forgot everything that them guys have been doing for Palestine as well. I mean, look how many losses Hezbollah took. They lost Nasrallah, of course. They lost, hundreds of soldiers. Of course, Iran, President Raisi, that's controversial.
They lost 3,000 civilians bombed in Beirut.
Exactly.
Thousands of civilians were killed by the Israelis, which is a war crime. And that's kind of why they had a ceasefire, is even though they could win on the battlefield, they cannot stop Israeli planes from flying right off past them and bombing innocent civilians in Beirut, which would cripple their economy. And that's Israel's plan. Murder the civilians in the infrastructure, even though it's a war crime. You can get away with it because America performs fellatio on them. And over time, we will cripple their industry and they will not be able to pay soldier salaries, and that'll be that.
Exactly, man.
It's horrifying.
We've got a question for you in the chat from LB. He said, one question for Ryan. What's the end game in Gaza? Will they send the Palestinians out the Middle East and to the West/US as refugees?
No, they're going to murder them. And they are. They're not allowing them to leave. Their way of leaving is death. They tried that before. There are millions of Palestinians in Jordan. There's hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Egypt and in Syria. And by the way, the Syrian refugee camp of Palestinians, ISIS attacked it and murdered them, set it ablaze. Well, we love Palestinians. Unless they're in Syria, then we kill them. So there's refugees in all their neighboring states already. And they'll say, why won't they let them out? Egypt one, they can't absorb it. They've already have enough refugees because of the Sudanese civil war to their south that flooded into Egypt. They are on a thin thread economically. They can barely feed themselves. They're running out of water because of Ethiopia's dam on the Blue Nile. They got problems, and they're not going to absorb millions of Palestinian refugees because then, you know what? They won't be able to take care of them or themselves. It'll break the camel's back. So you can forget that. And that's the only state adjacent to them. What do you want them to do? Swim out in the Mediterranean? No, they're going to die. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have been murdered. Israel's going to continue to murder 100 a day because they can. And there's no one to stop it because those that were fighting against it were the Shia crescent of Hezbollah and Syria, Yemen, and Iran. And you could throw in some Iraqi militia from the from the Shia half of Iraq. That's broken. Without Syria, you can't reach Hezbollah. You know, in Iran, yeah, they could use some ballistic missiles and hit Israel. That isn't going to change anything in Gaza. Gaza is doomed. The Sunni will do nothing. They'll talk about it. That's it.
And that's the thing as well, you know, even if there was a ceasefire, which we all know there wouldn't be, but even if there was, I mean, the whole of Gaza is pretty much destroyed now, and who's going to rebuild it all, you know? I guarantee that will be Israel trying to step in with the US. They'll, you know, that's what they want.
Why does it have to be rebuilt at all? They'll just destroy it. If it's rebuilt, it'll be settlements of, you know, nice Jewish families from Brooklyn or whatever that say God gave them the land, and so they can just steal whatever they want. There is a chance that Trump could get in and say, okay, we'll, if you return the hostages, which is something that the Israelis do want, then we'll have a ceasefire, but you don't get statehood. They're just going to walk away having murdered hundreds of thousands of people and destroying almost every building there. And they're like, and you can't have Hamas. I just don't see them. If they were going to release the hostages, that would have happened forever ago. Hamas has offered ceasefires to Israel for a hostage exchange. Like, well, you give us our prisoners, we'll give you yours. Israel's not going to do it because it's not about the hostages. They're there to kill you, to ethnically cleanse you, because you have a bunch of religious fanatics that think that's their land, that the God that they wrote themselves granted to them, and you're in the way. These people from Crimea and Eastern Europe with blue eyes, I call them trans-Semites, think they're descendants of ancient Hebrews. They're not. And even if they were, so what? You don't racially inherit land. But yeah, they're going to confiscate private property and continue to build more settlements in the West Bank and continue to murder people in Gaza because there's no one around to stop them. The greatest power that was Russia, and they are definitely have their hands full with Ukraine and NATO. And so the second greatest ally was Iran, and Iran works through the proxy of Hezbollah. But they needed continuous corridors to get armaments to Hezbollah that passed through Syria. Now that Sunni terrorists have taken Syria, that has been cut off. And this was the Israeli plan. They wrote it down. And you still have these Sunni Salafists out there celebrating, like, yeah, and some of them do hate Israel. They're so stupid. They don't understand how they're being played. You're being used, same thing with these Ukrainians that started a war in Donbass and ended up getting invaded by Russia. What did you think was going to happen? What outcome were you expecting that was going to be positive by behaving like this? The same with the Israelis when they flooded the Alaska Mosque and they murdered 233 Palestinians in 2023. And then there's October 7th. Well, what did you expect? How did you want them to behave when you treat them like that and you murder hundreds of them and you desecrate their holy sites? Did you expect it to be a positive or negative reaction? You wanted a negative reaction. So then you can respond to your own provocations and steal more land and murder Palestinians because you know they're outgunned. They don't have a navy. They don't have an air force. They don't have real weapons. A Americava tank can just sit there and take RPG-7s and still keep rolling. And I know you see all these videos of red triangles and stuff. It's like, and it shows and it hits the tank, and that's great. but they always stop the video when there's a bunch of smoke because the tank got hit. They don't show you the tank still moving after that. It's just I wish they were all blown to bits, but they're not. They don't have armor-piercing ammo. They're not getting weapons from Iran. They always say, well, Iran supplies Hamas. With what? Did you see October 7th? They didn't even have body armor. Some of them didn't even have shoes. If Iran could get things in, they would have proper body armor, minimal, and they would have weapons that can actually penetrate what they're fighting against. That's homemade. What weapons Gaza has is mostly from black markets in Israel itself. They can't resist making the money off them. And so it's just, look at the Katyushas they fire. They don't even have warheads. These are like glorified potato guns. They don't have an outside power arming them. They have what they can make themselves. And it ain't much. And their civilians are being massacred. Now, they do have a tunnel network, and the Israeli military is so piss poor and poorly trained that Hamas is able to stand toe-to-toe with them and kill them. And, maybe they take their weapons and use them. But that shouldn't happen. Like, any actual army that had the technological advantages that Israel has would have ended this war in 3 weeks. But they are afraid to go in on the ground. So instead, they stand back and they fire artillery at random at entire buildings. They don't care who's in them. And they hit with their Air Force. And that's why the civilian casualties are so high. They're not going to send special forces in to get the hostages to fight Hamas, because then they're in a situation where they can get shot back. Well, they're not going to do that. They've proved with the Hannibal Directive they don't care about hostages or civilians. They'll kill their own people. They don't care. They're not risking their soldiers. This is just an abusive, racist state. And it gets billions of dollars from America. America, Turkey, and Israel finance these jihadi weirdos too. It's such a hard sell. Like, don't you hate Al Qaeda? Didn't they attack us on September 11th? Aren't they bad? Aren't we supposed to wipe them out? Why are you giving them guns and money? Well, because they're fighting Israel's enemies. So suddenly, they're good.
It's crazy the shift in the narrative we've seen. I mean, we saw the tweet that resurfaced the U.S. embassy in Damascus. There was like a 10 million bounty on his head, and now you see like the same news outlets that was pushing that bounty are basically calling him a hero now, like a rebel.
Oh yeah, because he's for diversity. Oh, we're a multi-ethnic terrorist group, so diversity is our strength, and that'll work on hardcore leftists. That's all you got to say. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for the handicapped, lesbian, trans, whatever of ISIS. Like, you guys. That's as dumb as it gets.
It's all the guys with the. I've noticed it's all the guys with the, the guys with the Palestine flags and the Ukraine flags in their name at once. It's all these guys that are cheering on the ISIS. Funny enough.
Yeah, it's Sunni Salafists, and it's like, okay, all of you Sunni Arab states abandoned Palestine. All your leadership did. Every single one of you didn't lift a finger and never has against Israel. Jordan, Egypt, Turkey, name it, you've helped them. It's the Shia that fought them. If I was a Sunni Muslim, I would start seriously looking at theology and thinking, well, just because my parents are such and such doesn't mean I have to be. Because the one that's standing up against Zionism, the one that's standing up against these monsters against humanity, is Shia Islam. And there are Sunnis who, say they're against it, but none of your leadership is. All governments run by Sunnis are pro-Israel. All of them.
Yeah,
except Palestine itself. And really, Hamas just did more damage than good. Because, like, if you are outgunned and outmanned and there's a giant, why would you go flick him in the nose? He's going to stomp on you.
Yeah, and what I was gonna say is, it's funny how, like you said, it was in the attacks when they were before, obviously in 2023 when they was coming in all the churches. I'm pretty sure that was over Ramadan as well, wasn't it? And then obviously October 7th happened, and same thing with Ukraine. They were slaughtering civilians back in, was it 2014? They killed like 15,000 in the Donbass, and the mainstream media will still just push October 7th and the February 22 as the start dates as to what happened.
Of course. Well, they hate that they've been at war with Donbass since 2014 at least, and the rhetoric against Russia started early when Vladimir Putin took Jewish billionaire oligarchs and threw them in prison, which is what he should have been doing. But because they're Jewish, which shouldn't matter and shouldn't be relevant, they saw that as like a threat to Jewish power and anti-Semitic and blah, blah, blah. And they've had it out for him the whole time. He put Mikhail Khodorkovsky in jail. He exiled Boris Berezovsky. And he had Oleg Deripaska, who fled to Israel, under his thumb. He seized their assets. He went after these people that looted the Soviet Union after its fall. He had a bunch of an oligarch class that controlled the levers of industry, which they got by hook and crook. And there are a lot of those in Ukraine, too. A lot of oligarchs. A lot of Ukraine's wealth was run by this few families. Yeah, now they live in America. And Zelensky, too. I mean, he worked for Kolomoisky, Ihor. And, God, he literally pretended to be the president in a TV show owned by an oligarch, and then becomes the president. He's still an actor with his little green shirt and everything. Same thing they're doing with HCS, same sort of drab olive shirt, and act like, oh, yeah, we're for diversity, da-da-da-da-da. It worked, though. The left hates Vladimir Putin. The only person the Zionist media hates more than Trump is Putin.
Yeah, everyone just seems to think that Putin woke up one day in a bad mood and decided to, just randomly start an SMO in Ukraine. I mean, the information...
The Donbass tried to join the Russian Federation when they seceded, and Putin told them, no, you are Ukrainian, work it out.
And the thing is,
but enough's enough. They broke the Minsk II Accord, firing in an elementary school. That's how they decided to do it. And you're pushing, NATO trained troops up against Russia's border. There's no way they could tolerate that. It'd be like putting missiles in Cuba, and we don't have to guess what happens there. We know what happened there. Bay of Pigs happened there. So yeah, they did an SMO, and they pulled them out, and then all this hundreds of billions of dollars came in from NATO, financing this army. And look, money and industry, that is the backbone of a military. You have to pay salaries. You have to pay these like missile defense shields. Those are millions of dollars every time you use them. It would not work without Western money.
And everyone thinks Putin...
And they kicked him off Swift.
So everyone thinks Putin's such a bad person, but if there was anyone else in charge, these other, like the Communist Party, for example, in Russia, and all these other parties, if any of them guys were in charge, I mean, Ukraine would have been finished a long time ago. I'm pretty sure Putin's got a lot of patience compared to who could be in charge. He's put up with so much.
Well, they would have gone full Israel and just started murdering civilians, and that is a way to win. Of course, the backlash would have been that they would have targeted Russian civilians, and NATO would have come in. They don't have the political will to convince people in France or Germany to go fight in Ukraine. But if Russia just started killing hundreds of thousands of civilians the way Israel does, then you would be asking for it, and you would broaden the war, like World War II style, whatever. But look, Vladimir Putin put some of the most notorious, hardcore, organized crime heads in prison. People who were billionaires. He took them on, and he won. Can you imagine a U.S. president throwing George Soros in jail and seizing his assets? That's essentially what was happening. Like, he was cleaning things up, and that scared the powers that be to death. Well, we can't have this. A nationalist, not an ethno-nationalist, just a Russian nationalist that puts Russia first and going after these oligarchs that fleeced the wealth and sat on industry. Whoa, we don't want that. We could be next. So he became, they call him Hitler, which is hilarious. Every bad guy is Hitler, of course. Ahmadinejad, Gaddafi, Bashir, Putin, Saddam, whatever. They're always the new Hitler, and they never are actually. Something else.
Yeah.
Even Hitler was reacting to land that was annexed from Germany in World War I. I'm not justifying what he did at all, but he did have legitimate grievances to point to manipulate the public.
Yeah, I don't think that's that whole World War One and Two stuff as black and white as the media makes it out. Of course Hitler was bad and he definitely done things that he shouldn't have done, but I don't think everyone else was innocent,
They
as
were
they
all
say.
bad.
Exactly.
Stalin was I would argue worse. It's not like the British and French empires that had colonized half the planet were some benevolent forces. They had the Bengal famine during World War II. Millions died there. It had taken Gatling guns and just mowed people down in the streets of India and all throughout Africa. These were sadistic states. The America too, with its manifest destiny and just kill the natives. And yeah, they went all the way to the Philippines, took over in the Spanish-American War. They kept going west all the way out into the Pacific Ocean. These were not, just because it's a republic doesn't prevent you from murdering millions of people. Fascists did it, communists did it, republics did it. It wasn't the type of government that mattered, it was the type of culture that matters.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And the same thing in the East. Japan did it, China did it, China did it to itself. Everyone who could did.
Yeah, I'll say just probably a last thing to wrap it up soon, because I know you've been here for an hour and I appreciate you coming. But I'll say you've been doing this for so many years, and obviously you've been banned from everything. So what gives you the motivation, especially that you're demonetized from everything? What gives you the motivation to continue doing it for all these years, and despite being pretty much banned from everywhere apart from X?
Because it's the right thing to do.
You feel like, yeah, that's good, man. You feel like you're obliged, you got a duty. How long have you been doing this for now? So you've been doing it as long as...
It's just because I have a moral compass, and some people are baffled by that. You don't make any money. In fact, you lose money doing this. I go, yeah, but children are being killed. What are you? Well, I don't understand why everybody doesn't do this.
Yeah, 100%, and that's the thing. Obviously, Elon Musk, he's pretty much a Zionist, but that's where you got to give him credit, I guess, for having a platform like X, where people like you are still able to speak up.
I don't think Elon's a Zionist. I think he's just ignorant of the whole thing. He's facing an advertiser boycott. He was going to lose it all if he didn't lean in a little bit. The thing is, as long as he puts free speech above his own personal beliefs, it doesn't matter what he is, because people like me are allowed back and can talk. I would get rid of shadow banning, or I would make it public that someone is shadow banned, so it's not done secretly. But he is dealing with plenty himself, in that he's faced global, like Brazil banned X for a while completely, the whole country. The EU was talking about it. France was talking about it. Like he's getting like countrywide bans. He's facing an advertising boycott. And why? Because they can't stand the fact that he allowed a semblance of free speech. Because that means anti-Zionists are allowed to talk. This is the same reason they went after TikTok. They don't own TikTok. And it's got its own propaganda or whatever, but you were allowed to go on TikTok and tell the truth about Gaza. And well, they can't have that, because the father of lies is what Christ called them, the devil. They operate with lies are the root of all evil. You can't have a war in Iraq if you didn't lie about weapons of mass destruction first. You can't have a war anywhere without, like, if you stop the lies, you stop all the evil that comes after it. All the murder and war and starvation and all that doesn't happen if the truth happened first. So if you take away their ability to lie, you take away their ability to do all the crimes that they do, all their warfare, all the profiteering and corruption. If you had a legit media that called them out on it and said, hey, you hired your son and you did. If the truth came out, evil is destroyed. And they know it. They know, the opposite of darkness is light. It's kind of analogous to lies and truth. And so free speech fixes everything. Free speech destroys the liars. That's why X is so important in Telegram too. And a lot of the stories that end up on X started in Telegram. Telegram's got a huge head start because all the black sheep, all the real journalists worth their salt, were forced to Telegram because they weren't allowed anywhere else for years, for decades. So we're all on Telegram. We're not allowed on Discord. We're not allowed on X. And some of them still aren't back on X, unfortunately. And so, yeah, Twitter is better than nothing. But you have to face it. That's where the eyeballs are. Like, you might have the journalists on Telegram, but the audience is on Twitter. And those are the people you need to reach. And maybe the audience, I guess, some are on Discord or whatever. So you got to have a way to get to them. And Elon Musk has definitely been a net positive. I think he's more concerned with going to Mars and whatever. He doesn't really have a huge stake in the Israel-Palestine conflict. He's like, whatever, I need Jewish advertising, so I'll say what I got to say, but I will let others on the platform say it for me. He didn't have to say it. He just has to enable the ability for others to say it. And they can't stand it. They are trying to ban him. And they are trying to bankrupt Twitter. It's amazing. And they really showed their own hand doing that and giving him the Auschwitz tour and rolling out a crib with a bullet in it on October 7th. It was pathetic. But that's your Beneside Shapiro and that whole Daily Wire, the Israeli Wire, you could call it. They went after Elon and they had access to him. They're in his ear. Our side doesn't have access. There's nobody around him to give him the other side. He's surrounded by the snakes in his ear. He's got a den of advisors, and they're all Zionists.
Yeah, and Elon's a businessman at the end of the day, and even people like Andrew Tate, they was allowed back on the platform as soon as he took over. So he's definitely been a positive.
What did Andrew Tate do? He's not been found guilty of anything.
Exactly.
Been accused of a bunch of stuff. He's not found guilty of anything. And honestly, if you really look into that case, it's absolute shite. The girls, the progenitors of this whole ordeal, literally are bragging to each other about the stunt they pulled off, and it's pathetic. If they really had an honest day in court where they could present that evidence, it'd be over in days. But Andrew was a threat, and Tristan was a threat because they reached tens of millions of people, and when it was manosphere stuff, no one cared. And I think they let them loose on YouTube and TikTok because they just thought they were dumb kickboxing athlete nibbas or whatever. They didn't know these people had head on their shoulders. And they started talking about COVID. They started saying, this is hysteria and you don't need the jab. They got into the climate alarmists against Greta Thunberg. They were against the war in Ukraine. They got every issue that they're right on. They're whoa, wait. Celebrities are supposed to be placid morons. Anyone that we allow to have reach, we have control of them, whether it's the Diddy party, Epstein, whatever. They didn't have anything on these guys, and they're out there talking truth to tens of millions of young men. So what do? Just make something up, wrap up, smear, throw them in jail. And that's what they did.
Yeah, and I think you was one of the first people I pretty much ever see calling it out from day one, from when they were with a big account anyway, of course there's probably others, but you had a large account and you was pretty much calling out this nonsense case from day one. So
yeah, and I said all the same things on COVID in Ukraine that Tates did. I've been doing this decades before they were on the scene. But the thing is, I've always done that. When I see someone falsely, I did the same thing with Julian Assange. I did the same thing with Ed Snowden. I always defend people who I think are in the right. And they were. I know the Tates now, but I didn't when I was doing that. That's how I am. I am known for going after actual human traffickers, and you have to add the word actual. I helped bring down a lot of Epstein's cohorts. I released the list too. The client list is out. Anyone's like, where's the list? It's been out. It's all over. I went after Peter Nygaard. I went after the Nexium cult and Keith Raniere. I went after Maxwell and Jean-Luc Brunel and all these real traffickers, rapists, pedophiles, okay? And then you look at the Tate case, it just doesn't fit at all. The profile, the psychological type, they confiscated their phones, everything. They didn't even have porn. And those things always go together. It it was obvious this is a politically motivated attack. And it is irrelevant that they have a webcam business once upon a time or owned a casino or whatever. Like, hey, no one makes you go to casino. You know you lose money most likely if you go to casino. You're there to gamble because gambling's fun. You have a chance of winning. You are not being ripped off because you know the odds before you go there. If you get a girl on a webcam and she doesn't actually fall in love with you and you're not really talking to her, I mean, dude, you're paying for a fantasy and you know that. You're supposed to be an adult. You cannot get mad at the business. Like, it's like getting mad at 7-Eleven because they sold beer and then someone got in a drunk driving accident. It's like, no, that's your responsibility, what you did with your car and your alcohol, not the people providing the six pack or whatever. It's stupid. It's 100% clear they were targeted for their political views because there's no evidence of any of the things they were accused of. And I've seen that happen many times. That you saw that was happening to Russell Brand, and it sort of went away when he became a Christian evangelist and joined the Daily Wire crowd. But they were going after him too, out of the blue, because he was good on Gaza. And they're like, well, we can't have this. He's got too much influence. And a lot of other people have just been outright banned, smeared, defamed. I get called a Holocaust denier and all this shit from the ADL, the SPLC. They're like, oh, why'd you have Ryan Dawson on? Doesn't he kick puppies and pee on baby Jesus? You know, whatever they're gonna say. Like, it's not true. And I've seen them do that over and over again. They did it to David Cole. They did it to anybody in revisionism. Had the bus dropped on their head. And anybody that speaks out against Israel, they threw Jeremy McKenzie in jail for speaking out against COVID in the regime in Canada. He's out now, and he beat all his charges. But, like, it was years of his life wasted and money they had to raise for lawyers and things just to deal with this bullshit. I see that with journalists all the time. You know, Glenn Greenwald they essentially took his job. They took away Norman Finkelstein's tenure, fired him. And he was a good professor. Was obviously, and also Claudia Gay removed the president of Harvard because she allowed free speech on campus to oppose genocide, which they labeled as like anti-Semitism. When they said from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. They take the second part off. Oh, I think they're going to throw Jews into the water. Oh, you go to Harvard? You can't possibly be that stupid. But you got a lot of Ukrainian oligarchs, as revealed by the WhatsApp leaks. They organized these cliques. They were pressuring the mayor of New York, Adams. They wanted to end any opposition to Israel on college campuses. And now Trump's getting out there saying, it's akin to anti-Semitism. If you oppose Israelis' genocide of Palestinians, we're going to label you an anti-Semite, and you'll be thrown out of the university. I think that's overplaying their hand, because when they do that, it just has the opposite effect. More people see, gee, you can just remove college presidents and get students thrown out of university because they don't want you to kill children in Gaza? Yeah, they can. And they have the richest people in the world on their side. That's a battle, and we're losing that now. We were doing okay, and now with Syria gone in 12 days, and Hezbollah isolated, and Russia's still caught up fighting Ukraine, it's not looking good.
Yeah, 100%. I'll say I've got someone asked me a question in the chat. I'm not sure if you're aware of what's going on, because personally I'm not, but they asked me to ask you, are you aware of the onslaught of Hindus and Buddhists in Bangladesh? I'm not familiar with that subject, so I'm not sure if you are, but somebody asked me to ask you.
There's conflict all over the world. There's a conflict in Burma, there's a civil war in Sudan, Bangladesh, and also they're always fighting over Kashmir between India and Pakistan too. It's almost never ending. And none of these stories, and the cartels in Mexico too. I mean, there's so much violence. It's almost too much to even pay attention to. And it is, I think what they might be alluding to is this war between Russia and Ukraine that's definitely where the most people are getting killed. You talk about 500,000 people dead already. It's kind of taking the stage light from other things that are awful, but not quite that huge, so they don't get attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but with Gaza too, proportionally, the hundreds of thousands dead there is greater than the deaths in Ukraine, given that they only had 2 million to start with. It's a genocide. And it's also been going on for 75 years, so it's about time they got the spotlight. But, you know, unfortunately with Bangladesh, with Burma, with Sudan, and conflicts in West Africa too, with M23 and the Congo, and it's just like, I wish we had a news network solely committed to covering all these conflicts. You know, not local like celebrity gossip with Taylor Swift and whatever. Just that went over this and how they could be resolved. But we don't have that. I wish we had our own George Soros, somebody with a lot of money that could like find people like me, and I can give them a list of other people like me. Like, here are the journalists that know their shit, that we don't need millions of dollars or anything, because I feel like the other side needs all that money because they have to keep repeating lies to you every day. You really only have to hear the truth once, and then it resonates because it actually makes sense. But a lot of people who know things that don't speak out aren't doing so because they know they'll be financially ruined. And if they had that safety net, it's like, go ahead and say what you want. It doesn't matter if you get banned on PayPal and YouTube and blah, 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 blah. You're okay. We'll pay you. Then there are a lot of people who could do some real damage to the system. They've just made that calculated decision, like, I don't want to ruin my life and my family. I am too tomahawk. Like, I'm like, nope, there's the enemy, charge at him, fuck the consequences. I don't have FU money, and I have definitely paid the price for that. Or there have been points in my life where I really had to struggle. And I have 3 kids. And so now, like, yeah, I'm allowed on X. So I concentrate a lot on that. And there's some things I self-censor about. I'm like, no, I am not getting into that again ever, because they ruin your life. And we just don't have, like, where is the good guy equivalent of George Soros to finance the truth? There is no such person.
Yeah,
how can every billionaire be evil, you know? Why are they all like, they could fix this. It wouldn't cost them, they wouldn't even miss it. Like, what they make in a month, they could finance an entire media outlet for a year and be done. We'd win. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of the billionaires and that, they're scared to lose their billions because of the Zionists. You know, they own all the banks around the world and they control all the money. As you know, they banned you from everything just for speaking up. But yeah, I'll say also, Ryan, obviously I'm going to finish up now pretty much, but I just wanted to, I know you said you're not in it for the money, but if people want to donate and help you out, what's the best way to, you know, donate to you?
Oh, well, they can join Substack, $6 a month, or ancreport.com has a place where I have a shop where you can get Epstein maps, shirts, hoodies. I got the Sinwar hoodie now. So you can buy things on the shop. We're selling a calendar this year that you can pre-order. That is for U.S. or international, except for Cuba and North Korea, whatever. Pretty much everywhere. Yeah, you get a calendar. It's a pricey calendar, but it's really like a donation, an end-of-the-year donation to the website and all the journalists. But what it is, it's rather than being a regular calendar, first of all, it's got based Asian babes, because I live in Korea. That's what's around. But it's a this day in history type of thing. So it'll say, you know, on December 5th is, you know, and it'll say what happened on that day. Like the 21st Amendment was repealed against prohibition alcohol. Blah, blah, blah. It'll tell you anytime an Israeli prime minister died is a holiday. I made holidays out of Israeli losses throughout the year. And one of them was when Syria shot down a F-16. It was on St. Patrick's Day, actually. So that was something to celebrate. Yeah, it's been a bad month for freedom with Syria falling, but there have been some major victories. And so what it is a historical calendar except truthful, and then and hot women. So,
Yeah.
it covers all the bases. And you should know that in buying one, you are helping pay for journalists that stick it to the man on all these topics, not just the wars, but the medical propaganda, the environmental alarmism, all that crap, the assault on masculinity. We're on the right side on everything.
Yeah, I'm on your website now. I'm just looking at your Biden crime syndicate poster, like the wall poster.
Oh
you got-
man, yeah, because he just so in the shop you can get the Biden crime syndicate. I'm gonna make a promo code Brandon that will give you a discount. So hold off. Just
Yeah.
give me a few minutes when I get off this call and make a promo code Brandon, just all lowercase, I guess.
Where's
They'll
that?
get
So
you a
I'll put it in
discount
the
on that.
chat. Shall I put it in the chat for the people that are watching the stream so they can
Yeah,
grab
that
some?
way, like your audience can get a discount on the Biden crime map.
Nice.
That map, even though Hunter got pardoned, man, first of all, there's a film. It's free. So if you click on the films tab, you can watch the Biden crime family. It's unbelievable how much crime they're involved in. It's so much worse than 10% for the big guy or Hunter worked for Burisma in Ukraine. It's so much worse than that. The film is free.
Yeah, and
The
I say,
map that accompanies the film is like when you're watching the film and you get all these names and it's kind of confusing. It's like, well, we mapped it out. You can put that on your wall. That's a conversation starter.
I say one of your favorite products. I see. I think it was Ian Carroll had it. The Epstein map T-shirt. You got.
Yeah,
space.
we have an Epstein map hoodie with the client list on the back.
Yeah. And you
Well,
called
the
this
first
out.
page of it.
You called this out
You
before.
couldn't fit all the names.
Before it was made public, he was calling this out from years before as well.
I was talking about Jeffrey Epstein in 2007.
Yeah.
And we went hard on him in May of 2019, and then he got arrested a couple months later, and then he was dead a month after that. But I don't know why, out of the blue, it was May 11th. I said they had not rearrested Epstein yet. I said, look, I'm going to go back and tackle this again. Because anytime I would tell someone about it, they're like, oh, it just sounds conspiratorial. Like, really? He owns an island and they're raping little girls? I'm like, yes, they own an island and they're raping women and they blackmailed all these billionaires. Uh-huh. Because that does sound like some Alex Jonesism thing. Ironically, he wasn't talking about it at all. The one thing that is the fantastical narrative he likes to spin, he didn't talk about. He did call Bill Clinton a rapist and stuff, which is true, but you cannot limit it to Clinton, man. It's so much worse than that with Les Wexner. He had Bill Richardson's compromised. He had George Mitchell, who's a senator, compromised. Larry Summers, Eva and Glenn Dubin, Jess Staley, Jamie Dimon, Robert Kraft, Leon Black. Like, all these people are involved in this. Michael Steinhardt, Conrad Black, Doug Lee, Steve Hoffenberg. Like, it just goes on and on. Not all these people are famous. They're all like Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, who are also on the list, William Burns. I can rattle them off and go all the way down at Reid Hoffman. These people have so much money, but they're not the fun celebrity name you want. They were like, is it Tom Hanks? I'm like, no, Tom Hanks had nothing to do with Epstein. Damn it. But that's what QAnon was pushing, and that's what they want. They're like, where's Leonardo DiCaprio? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, there are almost no celebrities on that list. Almost. Kevin Spacey. There's no, other than that, there's really not actors and stuff. They were going after the donor class. They weren't bribing that many politicians. A couple senators and a governor, and they had a president and many Israeli prime ministers, because Israel goes after their own domestic rivals. But by and large, it was hedge fund managers, bankers, boring ass jobs, but who control a lot of money and finance. And they were spying on U.S. science and technology and stealing trade secrets and giving it to the Israelis. That's what Epstein was doing. But all they want to know about is who raped who on the island and how many celebrities were there. I'm like, I can't fucking talk to you. Like, you guys, do you want to know what happened, or do you want your little fantasy narrative to someone to placate to that? What they did was pure evil. Grooming little girls. They used modeling agencies to recruit from all over the world, take their passports away and force them into, suck it or sink situations. A lot of them are getting paid out now, and they also had a prostitution rings, escort services at the art schools, and da, 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 da. No one wants to hear the story. They just want to know about Tom Hanks. I'm like, God damn it, you're retarded. Like, I cannot deal with the general public. Like, this is the biggest story ever. And it's just like 9/11. They just want to hear about a bomb on every floor, or how it was holograms or something, or nanothermite. I'm like, you're retarded. Like, I can't, like, it doesn't matter if we have the truth. I can sit here and read the client list to you, and you're not even listening. You're just waiting for me to be quiet so you can talk about Leonardo DiCaprio. And I'm over it. I'm like, okay, you don't care about the truth. And you want to act like it's a mystery, even though I'm sitting here telling you with receipts that I can prove who's on this list. And just la-da-da, when are they going to release the client? Who's they? Who would you like to release the client list? The FBI? They're on the fucking list. That ain't happening.
It's crazy. But it's crazy, yeah. But what was the code again? Just so, because a few people in the chat asked, they send the like.
It's not active yet. I'm going to make it. I'm just gonna write Brandon. You know, let's go Brandon. Like,
is that BRANDON?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put it in there, so it'll be active in a few, like 5 minutes or so. I'll let them know.
Right. As soon as I get off this call, I'll go set that up. If you hold, you can type in Brandon, and you'll get a discount on the Biden crime map. Yeah. Honestly, like that map, it goes all into Rosemont Sentka and their Chinese holders. And Patrick Ho's on that map. He was in the prison with Epstein. Might have incentive to kill him. Yeah, it's big. We have one on Numek, we have one on Epstein, we have one on Biden. And yeah, the same Israeli characters pop up on all three maps. It's amazing.
Yeah, no,
bastards, man.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining, Ryan. Obviously, you spent a lot of time, and you've been a great first guest. I'd love to have you on another time, but I'll let you just drop me a DM or whatever when that code's done, so I can let these guys know. But yeah, appreciate it, man.
I hope you recorded this. I'll if you did,
yeah,
I will post it on. All right, yeah, send me a link to that. I'll put it on all of what I have: Substack, Telegram, X.
Nice. Yeah, I streamed. I was doing like a stream before you got here covering the news, so I have to just crop that part out. But it's like 1:30 in the morning, so I'll have to do that in a few hours when I wake up.
Well, hey man, I appreciate you being half my age and staying up, because usually it's the other way around. But I appreciate seeing what you're doing. You know, defending Gaza, defending Syria. I see your page. I share it a lot. I put you in the group with a bunch of seasoned journalists too. We need more of this. We need more people doing what you're doing.
No, I appreciate that a lot, man. It means a lot, especially coming from someone so experienced as you. I learn a lot from you and Patrick, and Syrian girl. All you guys teach me a lot as well, so it's an honor. But yeah, man, I'd love to see you again, man. I'll let you get off to do what you do, and thank you, bro. I appreciate it a lot.
All right, well, bless Palestine and Syria. Let's see. Don't give up. You know.
Of course, I'll never stop.
They're going to eat themselves and show the world. I'm 100% confident.
Yeah. But yeah, man, drop me the DM as soon as it's over, and I'll put it in the chat, and I'll send you the recording in a few hours when I'm up.
Sounds good. Fuck Israel.
Fuck Israel. Have a good one. Yeah, man, what do you guys think of the guest? Was it a good first guest for the show? I think we had a really good episode. Yeah, he's great. Oh, you sent a coffee. Thank you, bloody Mayor. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, as Ryan was saying, I don't really consider myself to be as experienced as someone like Ryan, but we do try our best to spread what's going on, the news, and obviously we're all, demonetized. Luckily I've still got my YouTube for now, but I'm not monetized or anything like that anyway, but I'm not sure how long that will last. But someone like Ryan, he's been banned off everything just for simply speaking up about what's going on, and like he said, he's been doing this for many years, and he hasn't got fuck you money, as he calls it. So all these little small things like his shop, for example, that's why you got to help out these guys. I appreciate you guys staying this long as well. It's literally nearly 3 in the morning where I am. I'll never stay up this late. I've got to be up at 6:30, so I'm gonna have like 3 hours sleep. But it was worth it. It's worth it. He's been a great guest. Let me just double check if he's got that code as well for you guys, if any of you wanted to use that code. Well, I'm gonna type it in the chat. It's Brandon. Yeah, you got it anyway, Brandon. Maybe if it doesn't work, maybe give it 10 minutes or so, and then use it then. But I'm gonna say I'm gonna have to wrap it up in a second. I'll just speak to you guys. I'm gonna have a cigarette with you guys, and then I'm gonna leave. So if anyone's got any questions, or if you got any ideas of who you'd like me to try and bring on as a guest, let me know. Obviously I can't. Sorry, I'm just opening my window while I smoke. I can't promise that I can get anybody on, but I do speak to a few, you know, big popular people. So any requests, I can try and bring them on. But we'll definitely have to try and bring Ryan on again, man, because I feel like I had so much to ask him, so much more to ask him, but obviously with the timing and everything, and I've got work and all this stuff, it's kind of hard. Maybe we'll try to see if he wants to come back on like a Friday or a Saturday. It'll be better. We can start later. But yeah, I wanted to go into more about like the whole Epstein stuff. You know, he's very well educated in that field. You know. Yeah, cigarette time. Just gotta have a little cigarette before bed. You know, I was gonna smoke. I usually smoke on stream. You know, but I didn't want to be rude to the guest. I appreciate, yeah, you guys, Cleo and Bloody Mary, all you people have been in the chat. And you, Cat, on Twitter, I see you. You've been here the whole time. And LB, of course, so I appreciate you guys staying this long as well. Yeah, it means a lot. But, what's your guys' thoughts? I'd love Ryan to be a regular guest, to be honest. He's very well educated, you know, he's been doing this for years. It's quite an honour for someone like me, you know, I've not been doing this for long. To be able to bring someone like him on with that experience. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it as well. I mean, it's a shame we couldn't get a video camera. You enjoyed it more than the X Spaces. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Have you been in my X Spaces? I haven't done one of them for months. I kind of stepped away from the whole X Space stuff because there's like a lot of drama and all that stuff. I don't really want to get into like drama and things. I see a lot of clashes with people. I think when you bring up loads of different speakers, people clash and it causes division. I like to just do my own stream, you know, and just bring on one guest and let the audience talk in the chat. Because all the X Spaces, I mean, they're good to bring up, like, you know, Palestinians and things like that. I think them ones are very well needed when you speak to like journalists and things like that, of course. But the whole X Spaces, I think they cause division and things. That's just my opinion, anyway. But yeah, I know. I'd love to have a podcast, an in real life podcast. Ryan was in the UK like a few months back, and but back then I didn't have my setup or anything. So next time he can always, you know, we can always meet up and do it in person. No, I don't have a brother, to be fair. I don't. I'm just on my own doing this. I used to do like X Spaces with just like, you know, like the normal big accounts you see on X and all that. I've never really been in like, you know, some spaces, but I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm tired. But yeah, I appreciate you guys a lot. I'll say, let me just double check if he sent that code over by now. Yeah, he sent the code over. One sec. So I'm just texting him. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they can be toxic, exactly. I mean, I don't like to like make drama and things, you know. I think that the cause is more important than just spreading the information. That's what I use Twitter for, not to like get in drama and things. So I think it's all like division, you know. It's not good. It's not healthy. I think it's fine, you know. Maybe one day we'll do like an X Space, just like on a rare occasion, just like when there's like a guest coming on, or there's like something important that we all need to talk about. But other than that, I think it's best to just, you know, stick to the streaming. Oh yeah, of course. Ryan said the code, I've just put it in the chat, is Brandon in capital letters. It's only for the Biden crime map. Let me just bring it up just to remind you what one it was. It's for the Biden crime syndicate family poster. So if you use the code Brandon, you can get a discount. It's all in capital letters. I'm pretty sure that's how he sent it to me. But yeah, I mean, other than that, guys, I think that's pretty much all from me tonight. I haven't really got much else to talk about. I think we covered pretty much everything. I'll do another stream in a couple days. I know, right? I'll do another stream in a couple days, maybe on Tuesday. I think we'll leave it. I like to leave it a couple of days rather than trying to rush into streams and then they kind of don't have any like meaning or anything to talk about. I think we've covered a lot today. I'm sure there'll be a lot more news before Tuesday with all the stuff going on in Syria as well. Maybe we'll try and get a guest on, but I'm not going to promise anything. But yeah, apart from that, guys, thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you all guys next time. Have a good night. See you guys later.